We're talking about movies today.
We can just jump right into that. What's up with you, man?
I'm tired.
Tired? Sweet. Cool. That's interesting. I bet lots of people at home right now are like, oh, tired? Hell yeah, me too.
I'm tired.
Yeah.
I put my pants on and ran out the door and set my work on fire. That's what I've been doing.
Wow. You set your work on fire?
Yeah. No, I didn't.
Oh.
I wasn't there for that. But my restaurant caught on fire this week.
Oh, wow. Bit.
Yeah, I told you a little bit about what happened.
Right.
Here's the fun news. I don't have much other news about it. Besides, I get a text from, well, we have a Facebook group of everybody that I work with.
Right.
The restaurant that I serve at. Longhorn. And
shout out to Longhorn.
Shout out to not knowing how to not keep your kitchen not on fire.
Did you ever find out what caused it?
So apparently, let's start from the beginning.
Okay, sorry.
So I see a post and it's like, hey, if you have to work tomorrow, it was like just from a fellow coworker. It's like one of the bartenders, like, if you have to work tomorrow morning, call the store between 9 and 10, because I think we open at 11.
Mm-hmm.
Call the store between 9 and 10, and make sure that we're opening on time. And then I was like, okay, that's weird. But I didn't have to open. I served at night, so night shift. And what, dude? You like that?
Some good saliva retraction ASMR.
Okay, anyway, so we... So then someone was like, okay, what happened? And then someone else posted and goes, yeah, the kitchen caught on fire. Or no, I think they just said restaurant caught on fire. And I was like, yo, like, is the whole place burned to the ground? Because I don't think that's going to be fixed overnight. Could you imagine just serving people in a parking lot? Yeah. They just pull up a Longhorn,
pop-up
Longhorn food truck. We got the steak and French fries. That's all your options.
Those options.
Welcome to the long truck.
Long truck. We might have something there. I think people would go to long truck. Whole restaurant looks like the bed of a truck, and you just eat in the back of like a giant truck.
The idea of this is that it's a food truck. Though.
Yeah.
It's got to be portable.
I'm taking it.
You should
it's a really big truck.
And it's portable, and like it stops in parking lots. Yeah. It picks you up. Imagine like a semi with a giant flatbed, and it's driving down the interstate, and you're serving people.
I was still imagining it looked like a normal pickup truck. It's just like 5 times the size.
No. Imagine it's semi.
Okay. Gotcha.
But it's a flatbed on the back. So like there's no trailer attached, but there's a giant flatbed. And there's a bunch of tables on it. And you're serving while going down the highway.
Oh, okay.
So like you're like driving in your car and you turn over, you look to your right, and there's a restaurant on wheels. People are eating, there's servers. It's just happening, dude.
It's constantly blaring Rascal Flatts' Life is a Highway the entire time.
I'm down.
Yeah, I'd eat there. I guess you have to be like strapped, like your chair. The chair would be like bolted into the floor.
There's got to be like fences. Like there has to be like cable fences around the flatbed, because if that thing stops or picks up at any speed or takes any turn, if anything happens,
everything on the table,
the whole like everything, like they need safety like requirements, right?
No, we're a truck on the back of a bag on the highway, dude. Safety's out of here.
What are the safety regulations?
We're just trying to go faster than the law at this point.
What are the safety regulations for a food truck restaurant? I mean, not a food like a
those don't exist.
A truck run.
Truck run.
We are off. Okay. So.
Yep.
So I immediately called one of my friends who works there, and I was like, all right, I feel like I need more explanation than what you're going to give me through text.
Sure.
So I was like, what happened? So apparently, the grill is next to the fryer.
Yeah.
So
makes sense.
The grill flame started to get like big, like noticeably. And he's walking by the grill, my friend, and he talked to somebody who was in the kitchen and was like, yo, the flame on this is getting pretty big, dude. Like,
that do be kind of on fire, though.
The flame. The do be Doobie doo.
Jesus.
So he was like, yo. And so he kind of tried to like calm it down, but like it didn't do anything. Apparently, I don't know if this is true, but apparently someone's like, yeah, I don't know if they started putting like a little bit of oil on the grill or on some of the food of the grill because it's supposed to make it cook faster or something. I don't think that really makes a ton of sense.
I usually just put oil on the grill to keep them sticking.
But I think I don't know what kind of oil we're talking here. And I don't know how much they put on.
Car oil.
Like, I mean, if you're going to have a restaurant with a truck, you know, that's kind of oil.
A good steak would have that 5W30 on there.
So, yeah. So whatever. Anyways, you got me on topic here. The flame, be big boy, and
caught the fryer on fire.
So basically, it then like spread and caught like the back part of the grill, and then it ended up catching the grease trap on fire and set a fire all the way up the back wall.
Oh,
and then it went over to the fryer. And apparently somebody put water on it.
Bad for grease fires.
Yeah.
Just makes them mad.
And also apparently like there was a whole like tub of lemons back there, and someone like accidentally knocked it into the fryer.
Oh, I thought someone picked it up and tried to throw the lemons on the.
No, but apparently it got knocked into the fryer.
Ooh.
And they were like, it exploded, like it like erupted. And then it caught some of the hood vent stuff on fire.
Jeez.
And then at that point, the what am I trying to say? The like safety, like
it's
not sprinklers. So in the kitchen,
they're like a fire suppression system.
That's what the words I was looking for. So instead of like a sprinkler, in a kitchen, it's like powdery substance almost. Because again,
they're basically like fire extinguishers, sort of.
Basically, yeah. And then it spread a little more in the hood vent or whatever, so then it ended up setting because it was just over the grill and the fryer, but then the entire kitchen suppression system went off. And my friend said, yeah, it looked like we had our Parmesan crust topping over everything. I was like, just serve it and tell them that's what it is.
Ooh. Yeah, you probably shouldn't have.
Yeah, death. That's bad. So basically, they had to send everybody home, and over 100 meals were comped.
Damn.
And apparently they were supposed to tell people that there was an electrical outage in the kitchen because they didn't want word to spread that it's a fire. So I'm here telling everybody it's a fire.
I guess that's not. That wouldn't really scare me from going to a restaurant in the future. I wouldn't see they had a fire there. Am I gonna burn alive if I eat a Longhorn? Like, no, it's in the kitchen. Like, you'd see it well before, and you go, "Oh, I'm gonna leave because it's on fire, so I'm just gonna leave now." And you know what I mean? That's kind of dumb.
Yeah. But apparently they didn't want it to. But then I went to Starbucks, my other job, and they said somebody I was working with was like, "Did you hear that Longhorn in where I work is on fire?" Or caught fire. They thought I worked at a different one.
That also caught fire?
No. But they were talking about the one that I work at. I was like, yeah, I worked there. Like, oh, you work at that one? I was like, yeah. So it got out somehow.
Yeah, people work there. They don't give a shit. They're going to tell people.
And then I went to work, and
they had it all cleaned up like the next day, right?
Well, first of all, that was a surprising part because I was like, this sounds like someone's going to take like a day because I heard that like the food inspection people had to come in, food inspector to...
And the fire department too.
Yeah,
right?
so first food inspector to make sure everything was cleaned up properly because of all the stuff that went everywhere, and then you got to recook on that surface.
Right.
So they had to check all that. Someone had to come out for that, and I heard the fire department had to come out and then to reset the suppression system, so obviously if there's an emergency that it'll work and there'll be stuff there.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, okay, both those people have to come out, and I'm sure we're high up on the list since our restaurant's closed, but I feel like those things take longer than you expect. It's like, oh yeah, I'll be there this time, and then they show up like an hour and a half later. Anyways, I was expecting to at least open later, but I was like, I'm probably not working tomorrow.
Right.
They opened on time.
That's crazy. I guess they thought, like 100 meals comped. If your meals are probably average like what, $30?
Sure, we'll go
like
that.
$3,000, right? Like that they missed out on.
It's crazy. There is a lot of
So
They missed out on more than that because they comped that. That's who was in the restaurant. They closed down at like 7.
Yeah, so I mean,
there's an extra at least 3-4 hours that they could add more. They could have gotten paid.
Yeah, yikes. That's
yikes.
That's not easy for a restaurant to get away.
And then I heard that somebody was like, "Yo, you can't be talking about this because you'll get fired."
What?
And I said, "Let them try, dude." I was like, "What are you talking about?" They're like, I went into work and one of my buddies was talking to me about it and like, yeah. And then another coworker came over and was like, "Yeah, just so you know, yeah, don't be talking about that because they'll get you fired." Like they're dead serious about it.
Crazy.
They can't they don't want anybody talking about it. They'll legit fire you. And I was like, if a manager hasn't walked up to me and said, "Don't talk about this, you'll get fired," and they hear me talk about it and fire me, I'm gonna lose it because you can't just fire somebody over talking about something that you have a right to talk about things and haven't even been told and expressed to everybody that I have. It almost sounded like the managers didn't want the people that weren't there to even know there was a fire.
It's just not that big of a deal.
No,
I really don't think that people would stop going to a place because there was a fire in the kitchen that they resolved in less than a day. Like, it's not. If anything, that would make me think to myself, well, they already had one fire. What's the chance they'll have 2? You know, that's probably the place that is least likely to have another fire.
So I'm saying it now to everyone who's listening. Yep. So if I come back in a couple weeks and I don't have a job at Longhorn,
Peachtree City, Georgia.
Oh my goodness, brother!
Fire, and his name is Tyler Gillen.
You don't have to tell everybody where I work. I was trying to avoid specific locations here.
Sorry, I put our addresses in the description. Is that not important? I'm pretty sure if someone really wanted to, they could easily deduce your address from your social media.
What?
Like if someone was like, "I want to know where Tyler Gillette lives," they could figure it out from all the stuff you posted and stuff and been on for stuff. Like they already know, like the town, right? I mean that's pretty public knowledge. Okay. But then like think about all the stuff that you filmed and take pictures of around your house. Like I've known people who are dedicated enough where somebody will be like live streaming something and they'll be like and trying to figure out where they're at and they'll know just from like the backgrounds exactly where they were. And I'm not even talking about like being at a restaurant where it's like, oh, I recognize that. That's like a famous restaurant in like
Dude, it'd be a lot of work because I don't think I've ever taken a picture of like the front of my house or my front yard. Not. But like I know there's a couple of videos or pictures like of my backyard.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't remember anybody knowing about anything about like a street or anything like that. So like you'd have to go through every like
I'm saying if they really want
every house in Noonan.
Yeah.
And then try to...
Nah, it would be... they'd probably do it differently than like that. I don't think they'd go and... I don't know. I've heard of crazy things about people trying to get... I mean, it doesn't matter. No one's trying to like... I don't think... Do you think... Okay, you have like what, 5,000-ish followers on Instagram?
Yes.
Okay, so if you tomorrow posted your address...
We're not doing that.
I know you're not. I'm just saying if you did, just your numbered address and a picture of your house and it just said, "Hey, come see me. Here's where I live." Do you think people would show up? I didn't think.
No. That's not enough. 5,000 is not a lot.
I mean, I figure it's just more than I got. So.
Yeah, you don't have social media.
Yeah, I know.
So.
That's the joke. Yeah. So, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
Been an eventful week for you.
That's one day, dude.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even there. Then I had an audition.
Oh yeah, for you were playing Jack.
I'm surprised.
Jack.
How did you know that?
I read your script
once last week. Oh no. I thought you were talking about when I was here and saw that I landed the audition.
Oh no, I didn't. You didn't even have a script back then.
No.
Yeah.
But I knew that I was auditioning for the role of Jack.
Yeah.
Anyways, so it was a short film, just a student film. Mm-hmm. That I auditioned for, and
what was the process of that? Like, what did you have to go through?
It was cool to get back into like doing it. Like after I left, I was like, all right.
Did
I'm
it feel
happy.
semi-professional, or did it kind of feel?
No, it was very professional.
Okay,
because it was.
You never know with student film stuff.
Yeah, but it was SCAD, so they have a really there was like a studio set.
Okay.
There was a giant studio set. Yeah. And that's where the auditions were held, like on camera on the set.
Right.
So I felt like I was like on a set. It was pretty cool. But yeah, it was cool. It was nice to get back into that because my first audition in like, I don't know, years.
How'd you feel about it?
Pretty good. I mean, I feel like there's always, you always think maybe you could do something better. But like I've tried to. So basically, with this, I did the audition. I'm going to be doing a lot more auditions, and 99% of them are going to be no's. That's just how the industry works.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's how it works. You have to get used to no's and just like not thinking after every audition, oh, I wish I did this or I wish this was better, than thinking about that one and waiting on that one specific one to call you every time. So my thing is like I go, audition, I did what I did, left, and now my goal now is just keep submitting them more. My goal is to land more auditions because I did everything I can. So I'm not like eagerly waiting that phone call. So it was cool, though, and I got there. I read for one character, and he was like, would you want to read for a different character as well? I was like, for sure.
Because you were reading for the lead originally.
Well, there's a couple lead roles.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if there was like a specific lead, like a lead. Okay.
Well, I guess he is the main lead, but there's a few lead roles. But they asked me if I wanted to audition for multiple people. So I auditioned for the main guy. Mm-hmm. Or the guy that I originally was going to audition for. Then I auditioned for somebody else, and they asked if I'd like to audition for another person. So I auditioned for 3 different roles, which is good because that helps my odds, I guess.
Yeah. Is that usually... Because, I mean, that at least means that you clearly didn't bomb it, right? Because, if I'm a casting director and I see a guy flailing on, in front of me trying to audition, I'm not going to go, would you like to audition for another guy?
Yeah. That was good, man. That was good. We'll be in touch.
I will be so in touch with you, but you can go.
I will be in touch with you.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't say that.
Let me just be so in touch with you, dude. Is that cool, brother?
If I was casting director, I'd get me too after that comment.
Yeah, no, So I think that it was a good thing. And then the last thing was interesting because he goes, all right, cool. I like your energy. So I want to see you do this part of the script, which was there were no lines. It was just like stage directions. Mm. And I had to, like, the character that I was reading for at this point was like asleep, like passed out in his bed. Mm. And
let me watch you sleep.
That was it. And that was it. He goes, lay there. And I was
so wait, you just laid on the floor in front of him?
I just laid there. No, that wasn't it. Okay. I like your energy. Will you just lay on the floor?
You got a real motionless energy about you.
You
I
look
love
real
it.
just dead to me. And that would be the ultimate troll for a casting director. Love your energy. Can you do this? This just says lays on the floor. Lifeless. Yeah. Just I want to see how you can pull that off and make it your own.
Damn, I've never seen a guy be more dead.
So I laid there. Except they had a chair, so I pretend like I was passing on the chair because change little things to make it and then basically, so he's passed out in bed, and then another character calls his name from another room, and then the person I was reading for, I wait like kind of jolt awake,
okay,
and like. Quickly, like, dress myself and then run out.
So you were naked.
They said, take everything off, lay in that chair, and we'll call your name. And when we do, to put clothes on. They waited a really long time to call my name.
They were like, I really think it would be better if your character had an erection in the scene.
All right, taking it a little too far there, buckaroo. Oh, man. All right.
I don't think this is a real movie, Tyler.
I thought this podcast was about movies. We're going to change the name to I thought this podcast was about movies. Is that movies, brother? Question mark.
Jesus.
So I did that, and then basically all I did was like I took like both shoes off, and I had a jacket, so I took the jacket off, so I could have like something like kind of like fumble and then to put on and whatever. So I did that, but I did it like 3 or 4 different times, and I don't think that anybody else had to do that because the way that the audition room was set up, there was a group of us auditioning for different parts. Some people older, some younger, because there's like a professor role. Anyways.
Yep.
So, and there's a big glass wall, basically, where you can see into the set. But the part that we were auditioning for was in a different, like, corner of the set. So the room that everybody was waiting in behind the glass wall, you couldn't really see it. But the person that was calling us into the auditions, because they had a helper, not the casting person, who was basically like watching all of us like as we wait, just keeping us in the room. She would kind of call whenever the next person's up because she could see from her angle the other corner and like I know this doesn't make any sense, so I'm trying to explain it. But from a certain area of the room, you could kind of see where we were auditioning. I was one of the last people to audition, and I got to know the people that I was sitting there like waiting with. So I think they kind of like all moved to the corner and like watching, and which was fine. I didn't even notice. But I know that the people that were working with them on the actual film was, keeping an eye out for when the one person was done. So when they walk out, the other person kind of can go in. And I went back into the room. Most people, when it was their turn to when they were done with their audition, they just left. But I went back into the waiting room because I said bye to the people that I like got to know. And we were like in deep conversation before I went into my audition. I was like, I'll be back out and I'll, talk to you guys. So I come back in and they kind of laughed and I was like, they're making me do super random, weird stuff out there. And even the person that was helping them with the film was like, yeah, they were. And like, I don't think anybody else had to do that. I could be completely wrong, but I'm like, okay, maybe that's good that they wanted to see more. This could mean nothing. They still have more rounds. Like, there was just one day. Yeah. They have 2 other days. So like, I'm not expecting anything. It was just interesting. That's all. That's my experience with it.
Oh yeah, I think that's generally a good sign. Just, they wanted to spend more time with you and see more. So that it literally can't be bad, I don't think. Right. Unless you were so bad, they thought it was hilarious and they just wanted to make you do shit.
That would be awesome.
But
props to them.
I'm going to give you benefit of the doubt there and say that's not the case.
Yeah, it would have. Yeah.
You're welcome.
And then I think that's it. That's the most interesting. What have you been up to?
Dude, I've had a great week. You want to know why?
Yeah.
They just built a Waffle House right next to my house.
No, they didn't.
Where? Did. Yeah, at the end of
going after this.
At the end of basically the road that takes the main street of my town, like towards Peachtree City. It's like I literally drove by it today. I was like, that wasn't there yesterday. It was so quick. They just popped up.
I have a really hard time going to any other Waffle House than the one by NCG because the lady there is so nice to me. Dang. Like, so nice to me. So nice.
Something going on.
I asked for chocolate chip pancakes. She put extra chocolate chip.
I need another extra.
Because she told me.
Oh.
And they looked like they were. She's like, I'm going to put some extra on there for you. And she's just so... Man, yeah. That's all.
Well, this one could be good, too. I've never been in there. It's all brand new. Or it could suck. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, dude. But...
That's it?
Well, I've just, been busy with stuff. Had to go back to Alabama again.
That's exciting. Nate's
business?
Mysterious road trips to Alabama.
Those are all my favorite hookers are. Those are all the best ones out there.
What are you... Oh, what? Why? What is happening to this podcast?
It's just funny because who goes to Alabama as often as her?
And you don't want to tell anybody why.
I like it better that way.
I bet you do. I might go watch the Titan games.
Oh, okay, yeah, because they are filming that near where we live, Union City,
which is another obstacle course show that I was hoping to be able to test for, but I did not get to test for. But so that's been going on, and hopefully, I think they just started filming in The Rock. The Rock will probably be there.
Wow,
we could get him to be on the podcast.
Oh my gosh, you think you would?
I'll just show up. That's the only reason I'm going. I'm just going to show up and be like, hey, so we want to talk about your new movie.
Is he's not in Fast 9,
Furious 9, dude. We got to talk about it, brother.
I have not seen him in the trailer at all.
But
yeah, Fast 9, man.
Yeah, we'll
trailer.
talk about that.
Right now?
Definitely. Right now? I was talking about the Titan games.
Oh.
But I guess there's not really much to talk about besides I want to go and watch it. My girlfriend's been testing, though. Jessica's been killing it out there, so shout out to
name drop
her. Yeah. Jessica Bernhard. So I'm hoping to go see that.
Neat. But yeah, movies. Fast 9. You just reminded me. I totally forgotten about because they just dropped the trailer.
That was part of my movie news.
It is. What do you think? What do you first impressions? Hot takes. Fast and Furious 9, or what are they just calling it? Fast 9?
I think it's.
Doesn't even matter.
I don't even
at
remember
this point. Because 8 was Fate of the Furious.
Yeah, dude.
And then I think was it Furious
you want me to
7?
name them all? I can name them all.
You can name them all right
Yeah,
now?
except for 9 because I don't remember because it's so recent.
It's probably just Fast and Furious 9. They should just. I mean, actually, I do kind of like the puns in the names, like Fate of the Furious.
Fast and Furious. Too Fast, Too Furious.
Right.
Fast Furious Tokyo Drift.
Mm-hmm.
The Fast and the Furious.
Nice.
Fast 5.
4 is probably the most forgettable out of all of them. I have no idea what happens in 4. No clue.
Have you seen all of them?
I think I've seen all of them at various points.
You didn't let me finish.
Oh, sorry. Continue.
Fast 5.
Right.
Fast and Furious 6, because that has the most lame name for some reason.
Could have called it Fix. And the
Furious 7?
Yeah.
I think it's just Furious 7. I think they just dropped the Fast. Wow, I said I could name them all, and then here I am. And then Fate of the Furious. And then Nines.
Fast Nines.
So...
They've definitely gone off the deep end.
Yeah.
There's...
Okay, you're talking to two people that, one, hated Fast and Furious from the beginning, which is Nate.
Yep.
And I like Fast and Furious.
I don't hate it now.
Well,
I love it
okay,
now.
for very different reasons, though.
Yeah.
I like Fast and Furious all the way up through Fast and Furious 7.
You didn't think they jumped a shark before that?
What?
I would say, I think 5 is definitively the jump the shark point, where they just completely lost it all. Because in 5 where they tear a bank vault and drive behind the car. It's awesome, but that's ridiculous,
yeah, of
right?
Course it is. But I like that there's certain things that are kind of ridiculous, and some things they did push the envelope. My envelope was just able to be pushed a little longer than yours was. Because there's some things that I can be like, oh, okay, I can see it's ridiculous, but I can see it. And then there's other things like, that dude, just no. Just no.
And this one, man, they're really going for it.
8 was ridiculous. Yeah. And 9, just the trailer looks ridiculous.
I love how soap opera it is, too.
Did you... The scene where they're driving off a cliff.
Yes, that's exactly what I know.
And he's like, trust me. I don't even know if he said it. What are you doing? Driving off a cliff. Drives and somehow hooks onto a
grapple hook gets stuck on the axle of one of his wheels, and he
how
swings.
How?
I have no clue
how.
I don't know.
How?
Man. That's Dom Toretto for you. I don't even know where they're supposed to be going. He hooked it. What's the second part of the plan? The trailer ends. They can still very well die at that point. But I love the idea that John Cena is somehow this is Vin Diesel? Is he Puerto Rican?
Sure.
I don't know how John Cena is his brother.
It's family, dude.
Yeah, sure. But it's established that they are blood siblings.
Yes.
So how the fuck did that happen?
I don't know.
It's so weird how heavily they lean into here's a new sibling that's you know what I mean?
They're always here.
Why did they feel the need to why can't they just here's John Cena, he's in it now? Why do they have to make him a sibling?
Because it's all about family.
It can still be about their
because
family.
The whole thing with Fast and Furious now is they want to do as many twists as they can.
So bad.
Because they think that in a lot of movies do this. In Rise of Skywalker, this is one of the huge problems I had with it, right? Is you want to put so many twists in your movies, and then it's just it loses all effect. You don't care. And because a twist doesn't mean anything if you don't have time to set it up, and then if you keep doing one twist after another, you don't believe anything. Yeah. You don't know what to believe. You don't believe anything, and you're like, this is ridiculous and stupid. So there's that, and the biggest twist of all, which I don't know if you actually caught because you don't.
Oh, it's the Asian guy's back from Tokyo Drift, where he didn't. Yeah, I don't know how
he died in Tokyo Drift, and then it's revealed that in which they shoehorn this in, but because they didn't show it very. They didn't show it super clear in Tokyo Drift exactly how he died, but it was supposed to kind of just be he died in a street race kind of thing. But then at the end of the 6th movie, they made it so... What's his name?
Shaw?
Yeah, but what's his... who's the actor?
Is it the previous one, or is it the bald guy?
Yeah.
English dude. Oh my God! How are we forgetting this fucker's name right now? Jesus, Jason Statham.
Thank you. So Jason Statham. So meanwhile, at the end of the 6th movie, they make it seem like Jason Statham we're not allowed to say his name real on the show ever. Anytime he's referenced,
God damn
it. They made it seem like his character. Or they made it so his character killed Han.
Right.
So that was the whole premise of the 7th movie. And then all of a sudden, after a whole movie and stuff, they love Jason Statham because he's family now. I don't know. So regardless, he was supposed to be dead for many movies, and now it's just like, but he's not.
Well, really just 2.
Technically, yes, because Tokyo Drift happens after. But my point is, it's still many.
I really hope they go like something crazy with how.
But that's my thing. Is I know they're going to
or something.
I know they're going to go something ridiculous, and I don't know.
Did you ever think they were
having somebody dead for that long, I guess you think I know I keep bringing this up. Like Palpatine was dead for so long,
yeah,
and it's just like it's just like it's so obvious they're doing certain things for fan appreciation, I guess.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't even know if that's really. Are there that many fans out there that are going to be like, Han's back?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Like I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, but you don't care.
Yeah, I know. But here's the thing. It's weird because I just, gosh, these, they've been ridiculous. I've never expected them to return to any semblance of reality. Like Fast and Furious is it will just continue to get crazier and crazier until it eventually ends because it doesn't make enough money.
Yeah, so that's why I'm excited to go see it now. I'm excited in a completely different way. It's because I know it's going to be crazy, ridiculous, and I can laugh at it.
Right.
When it started out so different, and they pushed it to a point where now it's a silly movie. And I'm not necessarily like, I'm not like throwing a fit about it. Like, I'm not like, how dare you? But it's just like, to me, the certain story arc that they had that I could follow with some sort of respect ended at 7 for me.
Yeah. You know what's weird?
Now I follow it because it's ridiculous.
If you can probably compare the scene in this trailer with the grapple hook on the thing, and that's just one of many, but the grappling hook on the car over a cliff is just as ridiculous as Wonder Woman lassoing a lightning bolt in midair and swinging off of it. Right? I mean, pretty much.
In the trailer, you mean?
Yes, in the trailer.
Well,
in Wonder Woman
I completely disagree because you have to understand where you're coming from here. These are what started as street racers who, okay, sure, maybe they became secret agents, which is already ridiculous, but that's a real world-ish thing, and you can do some crazy stuff and be training crazy stuff. Wonder Woman is literally a goddess, basically, who's a superhero, so she should have... Thor can call down lightning. The only difference with her is she can lasso 2 lightning. Yeah, it's crazy, but she's a superhero.
That's never been stated like something she can do.
I don't know.
I don't know. That's never.
I don't think you know enough to say. I'm calling you on your bluff because I'm going to say I don't know.
I don't read comics, but I used to be a huge fan of like when I was a younger of all the animated cartoons, all the Justice League animated cartoons and stuff like that were running on there. They were awesome, and there's certainly. They never did these kind of outlandish. They had things that they could do, and they stuck within the rules, I think, fairly well of what the characters were able to do.
Right, but I think
so when you just kind of like all of a sudden, and it logically just doesn't really.
She has a lasso of truth, brother.
You're right. You can when you break rules, like when you break like reality in a movie, right? Like in a science fiction, like Star Wars does weird shit all the time. But did it not? You still have to kind of stick within the rules that you assign and make them make sense for yourself a little bit, right? I mean, you don't have to science out everything. Star Wars certainly
I'm not disagreeing with you, but this doesn't break that for me. Her last round of lightning doesn't break it for me.
Well, let me compare it to something in like Star Wars. Like, remember in The Last Jedi, in the beginning of that movie, they do that bombing run on the Dreadnought or whatever, and they have all those like old-timey World War II looking bombers for whatever reason. That scene, even though Star Wars stuff doesn't really make a lot of sense about how things work in space and all that kind of stuff, but there is some established rule, like people can't breathe in space.
Yeah.
So when you look in the bomber when they're showing that scene, and the whole bottom of it's just open to space, and she's just running around, the lady inside just running around with no mask, no head, like everything's fine, everything's still like an atmosphere.
Things are getting sucked out from
Nothing
the vacuum.
is,
Yeah.
And you're like, how is that? That's breaking for me. And it's the same thing with the Wonder Woman
But I think your argument completely falls apart because Star Wars, those people are still... We have been conditioned to know that they're real people. They can't breathe in space. Wonder Woman is Wonder Woman. She's lassoing lightning.
But
I don't have an issue
she
with
has
that.
limitations. So, I mean, she's not just can do anything.
It's not like... But I think that's more of a...
And plus,
her
lightning...
mixed with her lasso is the magical thing, too. It's like she... I don't think it. Okay, if there's an established, I understand if there's an established thing that can or can't happen, but nowhere that has not been really currently established for us enough.
If Thor tickled his hammer and it started talking to him and became his buddy cop like movie thing, like would crack jokes the whole time, you wouldn't just be like, "Well, we don't know how the hammer works. Maybe it can
but this is. But I think that's completely different.
I still don't really see the difference. I mean, we're talking about lightning, a non-tangible substance that has, for some reason, gained tangibility just because she lassoed onto it. It's not a solid object. It can't be grabbed. You see what I'm saying? That's the whole problem. She can't support her weight with a lasso on lightning because lightning isn't a solid object.
I get what you're saying. I just think that it's slightly different, you know. I agree. I agree with you. I don't 100% disagree with you. Does that make sense? I'm not making any sense. I'm not saying 100% you're ridiculous because I get that it's not a physical thing that you can grab, so that does make a little more sense. But this world of the cinematic Wonder Woman has not been built enough for me to go, she can't grab onto lightning. I go, her lasso's literally magic, so I don't really care.
Right, but it still has rules. Like, we know what it can do. It's
don't.
Very hard.
That's my point. We don't really know what it can do.
Well, we're not going to go into the super semantics on.
We could talk about Justice League this entire thing because I could probably bring up some ridiculous stuff about Justice League.
And there are stupid stuff in that movie. Yeah, for sure. I hate it when movies make these like just ridiculous. They're basically just trying to get this cool shot across, and they break any semblance of rules and immersion for me when I see them, because all I can think about is, what? How is that happening? Like, I can accept that Superman can fly, even though it doesn't make any sense they can fly. Right. You know, there's no grounds in science there.
So your big issue here is that,
but they established that you can't just invent a thing and then not have any explanation for it and say, oh, that happens now.
You can if it's not too big of a deal.
No, right? It could be a big of a deal. I mean, Superman. If they had a movie where Superman moved the Earth somewhere else, right, which is, pretty ridiculous. But if that was the crux and they talked about it and they kind of explained it within the universe,
you can introduce things.
Yeah.
Without explaining if it's a small thing, but grabbing on.
If you never talk about how you're able to do something,
your biggest issue is that lightning is not a tangible substance, and she's grabbing onto a non-tangible substance.
Well,
that
is the specific. With this specific case, yes, and the fact that they don't ever talk about. I mean, literally,
maybe they do talk about it though. They're just trying to show us a cool visual.
Sure,
and maybe they talk about it.
I highly doubt they will. To be honest, I really doubt it.
That movie again. We're talking about another movie that brought back a dead person with no explanation.
That's even worse. Honestly, to me, that is the whole just Chris Pine being in the whole trailer and like just being this little fish out of water, and they never have even a slight shot second of like how did he come back. I mean, I don't know. It's just why show that in the trailer. It's just confusing, if nothing else. It's just dumb.
Good job, DC. So Fast 7, you're excited.
Yes.
Also, another surprise return, which you probably didn't notice. The guy who talks like this from Tokyo Drift.
Fuck, okay, I'm done. I'm not seeing it.
He's in the trailer.
I hate that guy. It's so bad.
He's in the trailer, dude.
They made a whole movie with him talking like that.
It's funny because I don't know if they realized that this shot was actually in the trailer, but a very quick shot. He doesn't say a single word. He's not even shown, like, he's behind somebody else's head and happens to kind of smile and kind of rocking his body, and his head peeks out from behind somebody else. And so I saw an article that was like, return of another character, you blink and you miss it shot from the trailer. And so I read it, and it showed a screenshot of it, and I went back and watched, and then I took a screenshot of it. What the heck?
Just fell.
Did someone die, dude? All right.
Okay.
So there he is.
Oh.
There he is. And he looks so old already.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, he was already super old, but he's back apparently.
Jeez.
So that'll be interesting.
Ugh. If he has the accent still. I know, but it's
going
so bad.
It's his character. And I think that's how he talks.
We've lived in the South for a very long time.
Yeah.
Like pretty rural area.
What?
Really
what?
Rural. I know. I can't
and
say that
you're
word.
talking about
I know.
somebody who
but he is the like super caricature.
There's 2 R's in there, dude. Rural.
I don't examine. It's just rural. But you know what I mean. He is the like Hollywood epitome, like ridiculous.
But I think that's how he actually talks. I think I've seen interviews of him.
Why did they cast him? I don't understand. Who was that for?
He was also in that movie, that Jackie Robinson movie with Chadwick Boseman, 87.
Oh,
I'm saying a random number, but I think it's 92.
No, that's his. Yeah, I think it is. I don't
know what number it is. He's a baseball player.
Yeah.
And the same guy's in it, and he talks the same way. I think that's his actual voice.
Wow, that's bad.
I want him to get a country boy.
Why did they? Oh gosh. There are so many like better, and that's just not how people sound. Really, I mean, there is a couple. There's a couple people I've met in my life that kind of sound like that, but really, for the most part, it's just not how people talk at anywhere. And it's ridiculous that he would have that accent. Oy, okay, but whatever. That's just a personal gripe. I just hated that accent throughout all of Too Fast, Too Furious.
Tokyo Drift. He wasn't in Too Fast, Too Furious.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right. Tokyo Drift. Yeah. It's been a very long time since I've seen any of those early Fast and Furious movies. I can't even say if the first one's actually good or not. I like the concept, but it's been so long. I might go back and watch it and be like, oh god, this is a shit. Actually,
Which one?
The very first one.
Oh,
it could be good. I don't know. It's just been so long. But also going on in the old news, today is Thursday, the 6th of February, which I guess technically tonight is when Birds of Prey, the Harley Quinn movie with the ridiculous
tickets.
title. Why don't wait, when you say that, did you see an article about pre-sales?
So you talk about what you want to talk about first.
Well, my thing is that I'm sure you saw the trailer for them.
Yeah.
And it didn't look great.
The trailer?
Yeah, like it didn't. Like I saw the trailer and I was like, "Eesh."
Okay.
There's like,
is that all you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, it just gave me Suicide Squad vibes, and I was like, "This is gonna be bad." But I'm looking at the Rotten Tomatoes score right now, and this is after like 140, almost 50 reviews, and it's at 86% right now.
Wow.
I know. I am genuinely surprised because I thought this was gonna be like a fat 35.
It ain't gonna matter if no one watches it.
Yeah, I know.
So, is anything you... Okay. So, this was about a week ago, pre-sale. So, now, obviously, the tickets went on sale, I don't even know when. A while ago, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I guess
more
so.
than a week, I'm assuming.
I don't know how indicative pre-sales are for real box office draws for a movie like this.
But a movie like this, pre-sales are usually crazy. Like, for, like, comic book movies and stuff. Like, they're, you know... So I was reading an article, and somebody was saying that the pre-sales went out, and they were expecting the theater to be nearly sold out for a Thursday night preview, like they usually are, and that they'd be out of luck. And basically, he checked the theater, and there were 2 other tickets sold.
Wow!
And so he was like, he thought that there was an issue with like the viewing thing or whatever, so he made a joke about it on Twitter. This is from, I know I'm just talking randomly about this article, it's a comicbook.news by Matt McGloin.
Oh, wow, shout out.
That's his name. Well, that's the article I'm reading, because it's kind of interesting if you actually want to read it. But this guy basically says that he was so in shock that he looked at other theaters. He looked at IMAX theaters. He even looked up theaters, like really, really high-selling theaters, like New York City, like Times Square Theater.
Yep.
Los Angeles theaters, and we're talking this one, LA Cinemark, 6 tickets. Look at this. Look at that. Look at that. The gray are the ones that are sold.
Yeah, there's like 4 max sold on there. That's crazy.
And
those
we're
are
talking like
big,
4,
popular...
5. I don't think he found a single one that had double digits.
So we're looking at like, this movie probably have like an opening weekend.
And he just
like
has screenshots over and over of different, like, and they're like 5 tickets, 6 tickets.
I'm gonna predict. I think this will have an opening weekend of anywhere from $12 to $15 million.
So I don't know. Again, this is pre-sales. This article was like a week ago, so it could have all changed. But usually, apparently, according to other sources, other movies like this. I mean, even what's the movie that was before? Suicide Squad.
Sure.
Obviously, no one knew it was going to be this bad, but like pre-sales for that and stuff, like people buying tickets.
There was big interest for that. I mean, even amongst like myself, I saw the trailers for that and I was like, oh, it looks interesting and it's different. You know what I mean? New Joker at the time, but it turns out all that was terrible.
This movie might be good, but maybe no one wants to see it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame him either because I mean, it does have a weird connection to Suicide Squad. Jared Leto's not in it at all, I don't know. What did you ever think of like Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn character from Suicide Squad? Did it do anything for you?
I thought she was good. I don't know much about like I don't follow a lot of DC stuff, so I was never super attached to like Harley Quinn and know much about her. But
she's not like a comic book character. I think she was invented actually for the Batman animated series in like the late 90s, early 2000s.
I mean, there's comics about her now.
Yeah.
But let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I was trying to figure out if I could find anything more about the Birds of Prey, like ticket sales, but this is just all negative. It looks like, as far as pre-sale goes.
I think that the main reason I thought that the trailer didn't look great is because there's a bunch of little scenes in the trailer that do all these stupid things, like I said, that where they try to just get a shot across opposed to things making sense. Like there's a scene where she's in a warehouse and there's 3 guys with machine guns like shooting at her, and she's behind like a crate, and she's like, oh gosh, they're shooting at me, all I've got is my baseball bat. But then she gains up the courage and she stands up and she walks a few feet out of cover, and they stop shooting at her for whatever reason. Didn't show them like reloading or anything like that, which I don't know why they would all do that in unison in any way. But and then she picks up a paint can, tosses it to herself, hits it with the baseball bat, and smacks guy in the face, and then runs up and kicks the other guy's ass. And I'm like, so they just decided to just take that? Like, she's standing like 15 feet away from him, and she decided, it's time for us to get beat down. We've done our shooting now. We're done. Like,
yep.
It's a weird, like a bunch of little stuff like that
yep.
in those trailers, and I'm like, that's gonna be bad for me. I'm not
trailers
going
too. Maybe
to
they just
that.
edit it, So it could be maybe really when she stands up, she just gets shot and dies right there. They just didn't want to spoil it. Maybe the movie's 5 minutes long, and that's what happens.
That's why it's getting good reviews. It's because it's only 5 minutes long. And it has a really like self-important title. It's like Birds of Prey and the Emancipation of the One Harley Quinn or something like that. Like,
wait, what?
Ugh. Yeah, that's Birds of Prey and the fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. That's a very like I don't know. That title just kind of pisses me off a little bit. I don't even know why.
I don't even know what it means.
It's just a weird. I think that
she's becoming her own thing aside from the Joker, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's the whole point of the movie.
But it's really just the Joker didn't do well, so they had to kick him to the curb anyways.
Yeah. Well, they
not
have
that she can't be her own character, and she might be her own interesting character. Maybe this movie's good, dude. Maybe we just
I could be
know.
Totally wrong. This is all based on the trailers that I've seen. That's why I'm kind of feeling this way. I'm gonna watch the movie and try to just be as open to it as possible. But I don't know. It's still. I don't know. I'm getting weird vibes from it. But 86% on Rotten Tomatoes, that is certainly surprising. Especially since they didn't open it up for reviews until like 2 days ago, which is, and it just came out. So that's usually indicates, they don't want reviews to come out. Because had they opened it up like 2 weeks in advance and all these reviews came in and they started having articles about, hey, Harley Quinn's actually good, like, go see this movie, they'd probably have better pre-sales.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's a weird thing, but
last thing in the news. We were talking about this the other day off podcast. They are, and by they I mean the powerful overlords Disney, are making a live action Lilo and Stitch. Somebody told me about this the other day. That is, I don't know how they're not gonna make. Oh my God! No, that's a fake picture. Is.
Yeah,
it is. I just
because that was literally my point. I was like, he's gonna look horrifying.
There's a horrifying picture on like. He might end up looking horrifying. No, they'll probably try to make it look super cute.
I don't know how they'll do that because that's what animation is great at, and he's gonna look terrifying in live action. There's no way because he's gonna look so weird. I don't know. It's
gonna be. I guarantee, like Sonic. That he's like a CGI, you can tell he's CGI, but it's a live action movie. They'll probably try to make him cutesy like that. See what I mean?
Do you think they're trying to because the Planters Peanut Company is doing this too now? Do you think they're trying to
they're making
get in
everybody a baby
on the Baby Yoda thing?
Everyone's trying to be a baby.
Everyone's trying to be Baby Yoda now.
Yeah, I don't.
If they get away with that,
just
that's
Baby
clever.
Anything, Baby Groot, even if you want to say started it off. I mean, Baby Yoda has really. Projected into a whole nother level, but I'm just saying that like everything's got a baby thing now that's like
because I don't remember Baby Groot like permeating through memes and stuff like that. Like a little bit, but like
not like
Baby
really
Yoda. Give a shit about it. Oh yeah, he's literally wearing a Baby Yoda sweatshirt right now. Yeah, that's interesting. I did have one other thing I did want to bring up, also a Colander article.
Colander.
Sam Raimi.
You're gonna always call it Colander from now on, aren't you?
Mm-hmm. That's what it is to me. Sam Raimi might direct
Doctor Strange 2
and into the multiverse of blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's not really much to say about that, but that could be pretty cool.
Yes.
Even though I like the first Doctor Strange, and I think that other guy did a good job. I don't think he had done anything else really before that. But Sam Raimi, Spider-Man.
The first two were pretty good, but the third one was awful, and he directed that one too. So it's like,
I mean, there could be you could possibly blame that on
I'm not saying it's his fault.
Studio pressure, because I do think that they were trying. He didn't want to do Venom, and they were trying to shoehorn in Venom into the movie. And I think that's really, at the end of the day, I think what ruined that movie the most is just Venom's presence. If it didn't have Venom, the movie would probably be pretty good.
No.
You don't think so?
Well, I'm sorry. That's the whole reason that he went super emo.
So if Venom wasn't in it, he wouldn't go emo. It wouldn't have what's his name in it? The guy who actually plays Venom, guy who plays Topher Grace. He wouldn't be in the movie. I mean, it wouldn't feel so like rushed as far as all these villains. You just have Sandman, and then I guess maybe still have James Franco be the Little Goblin or whatever he was.
Yeah,
because those were like the three villains, right? It was like Sandman, Venom, and
the New Goblin. Yeah,
even though New Goblin turns good at the end. Spoilers.
And then he dies. So
yeah, that's the classic trope. Yeah, he's redemption or whatever. Even though he went evil in that movie, but so yeah, it could be cool. But that's pretty much it.
What, we're just gonna shoehorn my Lilo and Stitch, dude?
Oh yeah,
I think
that's
we need
right.
to predict how that movie is gonna now. No, apparently though it is coming out to Disney Plus exclusively.
Ooh, that's usually a pretty bad sign.
Yeah, because I heard Lady and the Tramp was also not very well eye appealing and pleasing.
I think they just did a really bad job of making the dogs work. Because didn't they use real dogs? They didn't CGI them.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they used real dog actors for.
See, I'm saying this. This is what I've heard because I haven't watched it.
Yeah, I haven't either. I never will.
But here's one thing I want to say, and I don't know if I mentioned this when we talked about the movies that we saw last year. I think I might have, but the thing that I have, the issue that I have with, for example, The Lion King
remake.
The Lion King remake of live action. It was really impressive that they did all that in CGI and made him look so real. And then after the first 5 minutes, you don't care. Because what I mean by that is the visuals are like, wow, they just saw CGI. Wow, this looks really good. But then after 5 minutes, you know that you're looking at these animals. At that point, you're like, cool, I'm looking at lions now. I know that these are CGI. Move me on with this story. The story is exact same, shot for shot. They didn't introduce anything new. So, I compare it to Aladdin because I did like the remake, the live action Aladdin.
Yeah.
And I liked it comparatively to Lion King for two reasons. One, because it wasn't just a shot for shot remake. They added some, they made it kind of their own, added a little, new stuff here and there to make kind of their own thing, to make it kind of worth, watching again, instead of just saying, oh, I'm going to watch the same thing over again, but with people. Yeah. And the other thing is, they're people. The animal route for me doesn't work, at least in the way they did in The Lion King, because they couldn't emote as well as the cartoon lions could.
Right.
Like when Mufasa dies. Oh, spoiler. Simba is all sad, but a regular sad lion face just doesn't really do it.
Because lions aren't really sad.
And so you just lose a lot of emotion. So it's just a worse version of The Lion King, the cartoon.
Yeah.
So with Lilo and Stitch, I'm assuming this is going to be different though, because my prediction is going to be like Sonic. Again, there's most people, and there's one animated character, and of course I haven't seen Sonic at this point. At the time we're doing this podcast, Sonic comes out next week?
Yeah.
So yeah. We haven't seen it yet, but just from the trailers, I'm talking how it's looking visually. Sonic, after they redid him, which is a whole other topic, is this cute looking creature who looks actually like Sonic now.
Fairly.
And he that's what I'm thinking they're going to do with Lilo and Stitch. I think they're going to make him kind of look kind of adorable and kind of scary and kind of creepy in certain parts when he's supposed to at the beginning.
Yeah.
But have this kind of cute quality to him, because that's what Stitch is supposed to be. I don't think they're just going to make him look like a legit animal. I think they're going to give him expressions like they give Sonic expressions, being more humanized, because he can kind of talk. I mean, he has that weird voice, but anyway, so that's my prediction. I hope that's the route they go. I will probably watch it because Lilo and Stitch is pretty dope.
Yeah,
I really liked the cartoon.
I did watch the cartoon as a kid.
No, I mean the movie.
Show.
But the show was really cool too, because there were so many different little alien creatures.
That's what I was wondering, because the two aliens there, I think they both have forearms, except one's really big and one's really skinny. You remember those two guys?
Say, yeah.
His
so you
little
say
alien,
most people, but they're gonna have those guys throughout the entire thing.
That's what I'm trying to say. What are those guys gonna look like?
There's entire scenes where
he's on the ship,
he's in
space.
Stitch is in space.
Yeah. which those scenes could be kind of cool. I kind of want to watch it just for that. Because I know
really
Disney will
bad.
have the money to make it look good. I mean, I assume so.
Yeah, but we're also saying that Lady and the Tramp also we thought looked bad.
Yeah,
but again, I haven't seen it, so I
the
don't know.
But I think, Lady of the Tramp was a little different because I think they tried to use real dogs and
Yeah.
just kind of mix in some CGI, and I think that's what made it look a little weird. But yeah, the
It's good people who did Sonic to come into it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know if Sonic will be good. It looks better, like the design and stuff, but I still think that movie's gonna be weak. Yeah, but. Yeah, I don't know. What is even the plot of Lilo and Stitch? I forget. He comes down.
It's been a long time.
They have to what happens?
Make it up, dude. What happens?
I remember reading that originally Lilo and Stitch came out kind of around 9/11, like within the couple of years of 9/11, and the scene with the airplane that's
was
crashing
in a city,
was
and
in
they
a
had to
city,
change
and they had
it.
to completely change it so that it was in like canyons and mountains and stuff.
I do remember that.
That's all I remember about it, though. That little factoid is the only. I have no idea. I guess the whole time aliens are trying to get Stitch back, and so they just stop them. Right? That's it? Yeah, that's the movie.
I'm going to be honest. It's been so long since I've seen it, I really don't remember.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it'll be interesting. You should go online and look up, like, the live-action Lilo and Stitch, because you'll probably get that. Not you. I'm talking to whoever's listening.
Oh.
Because you'll probably get that really creepy looking, which I think actually just might be a retextured, like, recolorized goblin.
From Gremlins?
Gremlins.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what I meant. I'm sorry. I meant a gremlin.
A gremlin, not a goblin from the movie Gremlins.
No, you mean from the movie Troll.
Dude,
Troll
have you ever
2.
seen Troll 2?
No. Have you?
Yeah.
All the way through?
Yes.
I've seen all that I need to.
Yeah.
From YouTube videos. But that's all I got for movie news.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. The only other thing was actually ties into what are the main topic of this episode is supposed to be about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Quentin Tarantino, just real quick. They are thinking about, at least Tarantino wants to do it, and I think they've approved it. Make the actual show Bounty Law from the thing. Now, they're not making, like, his character, Rick Dalton, making the show. They're just going to make the actual show. So it'll be like a 22-minute black and white bounty hunter show.
But he's not. So is Leonardo DiCaprio going to be in it?
I highly doubt it.
But then what's the point?
They're just going to recast him.
That's dumb.
It is. I mean, honestly,
I like the idea. Like, it's a cool idea, but it's just his character is so based around being in that show that would seem kind of off.
Well, and the whole thing, if they would just be the show. So I think the interesting part is the actor going through, like, seeing behind it would be more interesting, but actually just having the show, I'm not interested in that.
We already saw behind it, basically. Not behind this specific show, but we saw behind this guy's life.
It would be him at his height. This Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is him at his low.
Right.
So I mean, which is probably more interesting.
Yeah. I mean, what do you want
to story? But I'm just saying, like, the life of 60s Hollywood was what made that this movie interesting to me, at least. And the actual 22-minute black and white cowboy shows that they shot, I don't really care about. I can go, if I really care, I can go watch some of the actual ones that they filmed back then.
Right.
But I don't know. It seems weird, but it definitely won't have.
How are you going to get people interested in if it's not Leonardo DiCaprio, you know?
Well, I guess Tarantino's name. I mean, he doesn't do shows.
I mean, yeah, but
his name is, people go watch his stuff. There was in talks, I think, at one point of him doing a Star Trek show. Which would be really weird. Can you imagine? A Star Trek show where everybody's saying fuck and they're like killing each other very violently. Oh man, I watch the shit out of that.
I bet you would.
So I guess we can just go right into it, huh? I'm really actually more curious about your interpretation.
And I'm more curious about your. What do you mean you're more curious about?
Okay, well,
you're more curious about mine than yours? Of course, you know your point of view. You're not gonna be listening to the viewers here, the listeners. They're not gonna tell us their point of view.
I know. I'm saying that because this is your first Quentin Tarantino movie you've ever seen, correct?
Yeah. Fun fact, guys. I haven't seen another Quentin Tarantino movie.
That's I find Quentin Tarantino definitely has like a formula for most of his. Or almost he's made
is it
9
like
movies.
build up, or kind of not nothing, but like kind of like slow. I don't mean slow in a bad way, but like things happening here, things happening there, and then
for the most part.
Because that's what I assumed.
Yeah, that's pretty much what all of them are like. You can make some exceptions here and there, like since Pulp Fiction, I won't ruin it for you at all, but it's...
How have I not seen Pulp Fiction?
Yeah, that's... If there's anything that I think most people would tell you to go watch out of his,
yeah,
I think
I'm gonna try to watch some things before a lot of people listen to this, which is not gonna be very long, because I don't want to hear.
You think you're
hate.
gonna get a lot of shit?
I
for
know.
not seeing
It's okay. I know I am.
I don't.
Okay. All right. Let's stop. Backtrack. Okay. I'm gonna clarify some things here for our listeners. There are a lot of classic movies that I have still yet to see, not because I don't want to see them. Not because they're not interesting to me. I just haven't seen them. My life trajectory took me on a trajectory to see different movies. And there's certain movies that now that I am 24 years old, I sit back and go, how have I not seen this movie? So I will be watching these movies. I want to. And if anything, this podcast is helping me be able to go back and see some of these movies. Because I feel like a lot of people that you talk to about these kind of movies, if they haven't seen them, it's because they're not really interested in film more than just like, yeah, I go to watch for it's a cool spectacle. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. You know what I'd love to do?
What?
Is if we could do a live commentary over a movie of me like showing you like something old, like one of these like quote unquote classics or something like that. I think that'd be really cool because there's like, we basically just watch it, we just talk over it, and then we kind of do like a quote unquote episode in that format. Because there are ways you can do it to kind of like get away from like copyright laws, but you know what I mean. Yeah. But that'd be pretty neat because I don't think we need to do it. Like if you went back and saw The Godfather, we wouldn't need to do an episode on The Godfather and like our thoughts, right? Because no one gives a shit what we think about. It's good. There's if you start arguing with that, I don't know. That's a hot take. I mean, I don't know, but I think it'd be more fun to do those kind of movies that way. But yeah, go ahead with what you were saying.
No, that's it. There will be basically this is my first Quentin Tarantino movie, which is also just a surprise to not only you guys but to me too. I get it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that Quentin Tarantino is one of these like big classic, he's no, I don't know, Spielberg, where it's kind of like really shocking that you haven't seen those movies. No, but
he's almost a modern day version of it, I feel like.
Of Spielberg?
of somebody that like, that's my point is, his name. There's not a ton of people that like, their name and go, oh, it's this movie. It's this director movie.
Guess that's true. Yeah. Probably just because we're kind of like in the middle of his like height, of him being making good stuff, because he really only made 2 movies in the 90s and then a lot in the early 2000s and then now. So so I guess that's kind of where I'm starting off with. That's why I said it was kind of more interesting to kind of see your impact, because to me, I've seen pretty much everything he's come out with. I think the only thing I haven't seen, he made a weird like 2-part like movie thing a while back called like Death Proof or something like that, and I've never seen that. But his main movies, with Reservoir Dogs starting out, and then this one, the most recent, most of them follow along this kind of formula of, you have these characters, they're living their lives. Here's them. You kind of just jump in to their lives with no real start, and then it builds up to some giant climactic moment. And this movie is no different than that. It does pretty much the same thing, and most of the time this big climactic moment is very, very violent.
Right.
And this doesn't change that either. But it does fall in line with a couple of his movies that I really like, that takes a historical event and then changes it, kind of revisionist history, which I think is kind of cool. He does that with Inglourious Bastards and I guess Django, but this one being about the Manson murders and totally redoing, that what actually happened in real life. Did you know anything about the Manson murders before you went into this?
No, I never. And you even say before I went into this, like even after watching the movie, I didn't connect the two really.
Okay, so do you know? But do you know now, like, what was supposed to happen in the movie?
Please do explain.
Okay, so the whole reason that and I'm sure most people already know this, but I'll be quick. The whole reason that they show Margot Robbie is playing Sharon Tate in real life, and she was dating Roman Polanski at the time. In fact, I think they actually got married. And Roman Polanski wasn't there, but the Manson kids, which were part of his cult, and he told them to go kill Sharon Tate, or actually just basically kill whoever's in that house, because they hated. There was a music producer who worked with the Beatles, who denied Charles Manson a record deal. So that's why he had him kill in that house. He used to live in that house and he didn't anymore. And so they just went in there. They went in there and killed Sharon Tate and I think or maybe her cousin, some other people that were there. And she was kind of an up and coming actress. Kind of felt like she was going to be a big deal. And so it was a very like traumatic kind of event. And obviously in this movie, pretty much spoilers from here on out, that doesn't happen. They instead go to the next door where Rick Dalton and Cliff Booth, I think that's the stuntman's name, are staying, because Rick Dalton yells at them in their car for being loud. And just kind of comes off as kind of an elitist dick.
But was he supposed to go to...
They were going originally to Roman Polanski's house, which is next door.
Right.
But they're sitting out there in the cul-de-sac in their car, and their muffler's kind of loud, and Rick Dalton is trying to, read lines, and, he's all drunk and weird, and he comes out and yells at him and tells him to, kind of fuck off. They drive down the hill, and then they have that whole talk about, let's kill him. Hollywood taught us to kill, and they go up there, and then Brad Pitt fucks him up.
His dog, dude.
Yeah, his dog. I don't know. Okay, so when I was watching that climactic scene, I guess we'll just start with the end.
Whatever. We go where we want.
The first thing I thought of as soon as he started, especially since he was beating up one of the girls, was he definitely killed his wife.
Oh, I forgot that was a thing. That was such a weird thing that they tried
for him to just... I mean, he was on acid, but acid doesn't necessarily make you violent. It can alter your mind, but he almost seemed to revel in the idea that I got to beat the fuck out of this girl.
It was very...
It was really...
gruesome.
They deserved it. I fully believe so. They had full intention of not only killing them, but perhaps other people.
Right, so there's a self-defense, and I literally hit her head, smashed it into...
glass, and dragged it along a mantle.
I smashed her head into a mantle. Not even, into a wall once, and just gushing blood out of her face. And you go, all right, she's taken care of.
Nope.
No.
I'm going to keep going.
You cross that line, and you do it about 15 more times against different surfaces to where the front of her head touches the back of her head.
Oh, my God. Yeah, it's so bad. It was so surprising. Even though I should have seen it coming. I know how these movies end, but, man, I was still like... Oh my God.
That's an interesting... Okay, so
And then, you can't... Rick Dalton didn't get away either. He does something arguably worse. He burns her to death with a flamethrower.
An interesting view from an actor's perspective, being Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Can you imagine having to do that to somebody?
Well,
dude.
But even playing it, yes. Yeah, that's nuts.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Playing that role. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with Brad Pitt. That's not what I'm saying.
He's just saying
monster. I'm saying if you're not, man, that could be scarring for an actor. Seriously, I'm just imagining the makeup they have to go through to make themselves look like they're just gnarly.
Yeah.
Stuff coming out of their face.
And even the process, we're so, in our, modern 21st century lives, we're so soft as far as, the idea, even putting, I'd be, if I was Brad Pitt, I'd be on set, and I would be holding this girl's head along, a mantle, and, pretending to scrape it and stuff like that. And I'd be the whole time I'd be I'm so sorry.
I bet he was. I bet after he's I know. Are you good?
It's just so funny because we're just so even the thought of even pretending to do this, ooh, I couldn't do it. Yeah, makes me all queasy.
Just I can't. I'm just trying to think from, and even when I was watching it, I was thinking that too, because sometimes that's kind of where I go. Is sometimes actor perspective, having to do that, or just even in any sort of role where you're kind of a brutal killer, how far until you just go until it really takes a toll on you,
Yeah.
you know? And obviously, I mean, it's acting. Like,
Right.
you know it's not real, but it's visuals. It's somebody who I guess it depends on the actor, because some people don't like to see, like, nasty guts and stuff everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you just gotta be like, well, this is the role I'm playing, and
It's not.
I gotta pretend to smash her head in. And there's probably a cut, and they're all laughing.
Yeah.
And this girl's probably looking at you like,
Right.
laughing
She-
with,
that's
like,
the
her
thing.
eyeball falling out of her face.
It's so comical, like how it's portrayed. Like it's so ridiculous that it's kind of funny. And so it's not like body horror. I don't think it would have a lasting impact on anybody. I just like feel bad in the moment, like do it, like even going through the motions. But I don't think it's not like, you know, it's not like method acting where you got to get to a really dark
No,
place.
that's
or
not what I
anything.
mean.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, in general, it's just a very interesting thing to think about. So,
But rewinding a bit. So just opening thoughts. What'd you think?
rewinding a bit
Yeah.
from
So
opening
all the way
thoughts,
to the beginning from the end.
it was a movie, brother.
Wow. All right. We'll see you next time.
I liked it.
Okay.
Yep. There you go.
That's it.
That is
Wow.
my review.
Thorough.
10 out of 10.
10 out of... Wow.
I'm
Oh,
kidding.
you loved
I'm
it.
just numbering things because you don't like
Perfect.
to number things.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting because, again, this is first Quentin Tarantino movie that I've seen. I don't know exactly, like you said, there's a kind of a consistent formula, but with this movie, there was a lot of stuff. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this. I think I have it written down somewhere. So
Sure.
give me a second.
Okay.
Stick with me here, brother.
Okay. Yeah.
Keep on sticking.
I'm sticky. I'm sticky over here.
Sticky.
I guess I'll just say that from, you know, having seen the other ones or other movies of his, I very much enjoyed this. I think I've already talked about it a little bit in previous episodes, like when we did 2019 in review and stuff like that. Because I saw this back closer to when it came out, and then rewatched it again for this. But so yeah, I very much enjoyed this movie. It's probably one of my favorites from last year, which isn't really saying all that much. But it was, you know, following the Tarantino formula, and it wasn't. It's not like my favorite out of everything he's done. But at the same time, I think he did a super good job of like showing of world building in this 1969 Hollywood. And like the environments and how everybody acted and portrayed their characters felt really authentic to me. And I think this is something that he just consistently does, is making characters feel really real and just like real people. And I love both Leo and Brad Pitt's characters for very different reasons, obviously, but I think they both did a really good job. And I love the idea of kind of like Leo's character in this. He's like, it's funny because he's playing this hardcore, you know, like Western cowboy in movies, but he's a complete wimp in real life. Like he's like crying and like outside things and everything, any little thing that goes wrong, and he's like, he just can't handle it at all. And I love that like dichotomy, and Leo does a really good job. And then you have Brad Pitt, who is playing like, you know, an old school stuntman, you know what I mean? Like back before there was any safety regulations for stuntmen, so I'm sure they just died all the time. I don't know. He's probably one of the oldest ones because they just did whatever they had to do to get the shot across, and you know, have any real rules, I don't think, back then. And then and he is exactly that person in real life. Like everybody he's portraying in movies is who Brad Pitt is. He's
Is he? Is that how
that's
when
the
you met
vibe
him?
I got. Okay,
That's how he was when you had lunch with him.
Yeah, that's what you're gonna do to me.
Yeah, you tell me that's how he was in real life. You never met the guy. You don't know
the character. That's how the character is. I guess I said Brad Pitt.
You said Brad Pitt.
Sorry. I'm sure Brad Pitt
You're
is
saying
nothing
him as a
like Cliff
stuntman.
Booth. Yeah, him as a stuntman, and his like he just shows up to work and he's just him.
Yeah, but
I know he doesn't have
he's
to
a
act,
stuntman,
right?
So stuntmen do have to act, but it's a lot more physical acting.
Yes.
No, which is a big thing.
My point is that if he's acting like a badass who can fight and
Right.
do that stuff, pretty much who he is. But
Right.
also at the same time, if he's acting like a killer, I kind of think he is.
That is actually interesting. I completely forgot about that by the time that I finished watching it. I think because I watched this in 2 parts. I watched some of it one night, and I waited like a couple days
a little long.
and watched the second.
So for time, I can understand that.
And that's usually not like me. I like to watch movies all the way through. But it's interesting because I think they mentioned that more in the middle / earlier part. And then I don't think they mentioned it in the second part that I watched in the second half. So I forgot about that by the end, that like, oh yeah, he was kind of blamed for like killing his wife.
Well, yeah, I think they kind of leave it ambiguous. But I think that part of the reason they have the ending scene or have that whole kind of plot line in the movie is to kind of confirm it in your own mind.
Well, not confirm, but make you think. Not necessarily confirm, but
confirm it for your own, like, oh, I definitely think that now. You know what I mean?
Well, you're saying forcing a confirmation, where I'm saying forcing makes you think about it more, leaning you towards
not
that
a
maybe.
literal confirmation, but yeah.
Because it is interesting because he did smoke that
acid-laced cigarette.
Yeah, that was dipped in acid, which is interesting because even like when the dude busts in, he's like, "Are you real?" So, and he says that he's real, but I think that and I think this is kind of maybe part of the reason of, again, it's trying to make you think whether or not he did this. But if he was like that much into just like smashing this person's face in and not on acid, it would have been more clear. I think they wanted to leave it even more ambiguous to kind of give you more to work with, because I feel like I've never been on acid. Let me put that out there.
Did you try? No.
But I feel like by letting him smoke that right before, because he's like, "Yo, are you real?" And he's like, "I'm very real." And then he kind of like laughs, and they kind of laugh at each other, and then he kind of goes off and obviously murders them.
Yeah.
In self-defense, but he takes it pretty far.
Well, this isn't the only time he's been violent in the movie.
No. But what I'm saying is when this specific thing happens, being on acid alters your brain.
Yep.
Makes you sometimes, see things.
It's hallucinogenic.
And so you might not be thinking that you're doing exactly what you're doing, or think you're either overdoing something or underdoing something. I'm speaking from never have done acid.
Yeah.
But things are kind of wonky out there in the real world when you're on acid.
Same. I have also never done acid. I just want to say that.
Yeah, you took a while to confirm that. So things are kind of wonky out there, I feel like, for your vision and kind of your senses when you're on that. So it's like he could be like, even if it's like, all right, cool, yeah, I'm killing this person, got to make sure they're dead. And he's just really out there and crazy, just like, because his mind is not in the right spot. So it's like, I think the thing I'm thinking is, you're kind of supposed to be led to wonder, would he have done that exactly the same way if he wasn't on acid?
Well, he also, he took a sparring match with Bruce Lee and ended up throwing him to a car enough to dent the door in. So that's an escalation of violence. No, that's an escalation of violence, though. I mean, think about the causes, right? They're in a sparring match, so of course he's not going to try to kill him, but he still took it too far there, right?
Yeah.
Still a cool scene. Love that scene. But then there's also kid slashes his tires. He tells him to fix it. Kid doesn't want to fix it. Beats the shit out of him. It's clear throughout the movie that he's willing to do.
It's another awesome scene.
It is another awesome scene, but. To me, I really felt like acid might have been an excuse for the cops, but
right.
Well, actually, I don't even. It's the '60s.
Well, that's the thing.
If you broke into somebody's house, I'm pretty sure you could do anything.
Pushing you to feel a certain way, and kind of making you think, and then that happens, but they add the layer of acid to not confirm,
make it a little bit ambiguous.
Yeah, to be
I'll
like,
give you
well?
that. But at the same time, it still doesn't. I still think he killed his wife. It's still a great flashback, though. I love that really quick flashback of him with the wife yelling at him. They're on a boat, and the harpoon is sitting in his lap, but it's just perfectly framed still to just impale her with it. If all he had to do is pull the trigger, and he kind of looks down at it, looks at her, and I think that like moment, it's really quick. That's only like a probably 6 or 7 second.
Right. So you think he's just kind of a loose cannon, like a good-hearted dude, but can sometimes be a little pushed to be a little loose?
I don't think he's a good-hearted dude.
You don't think so?
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, his actions are technically justified, but he is like a man of another time. He is living the life of an actual cowboy. Like he's trying. He
wants to actually be that.
Yeah. Well, I don't even think it's a conscious thing that he's doing. It's a subconscious thing. He's just going out through life. But if you wrong him, he will fuck you up. Like that he thinks that's justified. And I think in the modern age, that's not really what you do, right? I mean, you don't Just you don't beat the shit out of a guy. If you slash your tires, that's a shitty move to do. But
this is it. I mean, there's more to that. I'm not saying I think he went too far. I think he went too far. But this guy is thinking that all these people are taking advantage of his friend.
To be fair, that had already been confirmed not to be true. He talked to the friend, and the friend told him to fuck off. Like they're fine.
No, I know, but this poor guy is old, and I think from what I got, the premise was this dude's old. He's blind. He doesn't really see what situation he's in. I think because he lays around all day. I don't think he's very healthy. Yeah. I think that it was this is how I read this. I think it was being portrayed that this guy is not super healthy. He's not fully cognizant of exactly kind of what's happening. So he's more inclined to think that, all right, cool, well, at least, this is company. This person's taking care of me. But really what's going to kind of go on more behind his back is they are taking advantage of this dude who is not super healthy, not super cognizant. So they're just overtaking his entire lot. So to some that can be like, well, we're not doing any, like the hippies are like, we're not doing anything bad necessarily. And we are here to help him. Yeah. But they are kind of taking advantage of him. And that's how he sees it. He's like, I know this guy. I like this guy. I did movies with this guy. And he's not in the best of health, and you guys are. He's living in a mess. Like he walks in, there's rats, there's dishes that have just been there for who knows how long. Like, this place is disgusting. Yeah. And he's like, "This is not." I think he's like, "This is not," because he knew that that was his house. He's like, "Does he still live there?" When he points to that house, and so like he knows this guy well enough to know that he wouldn't live like this. So this guy, like, I would be upset if I had a friend or knew somebody that. And then I found out that they were in this situation and living in this situation that is not something that they would be typically okay with. And I figure that he's not in the best of health. So it appears that all of these people are taking advantage of him. So he's pissed off and he's ready to go. And then he finds out that this stupid guy slashes tires and he loses it. So yes, and he goes a little too far. I'm not disagreeing with you there. But you almost kind of root for him a little bit because of that. You know what I mean?
We always root for the cowboy in the Western film who enacts self-justice. Does that make him actually a good person in real life? No.
But are you disregarding everything that I said? I'm not saying he didn't go too far. To a certain extent,
I don't think that the.
Do you believe the hippies took advantage of? I can't remember the guy's name.
A little bit, yeah. It's the ranch that they.
I 100% think that
they end up being Manson kids.
I 100% think that they did because
here's the only difference that you didn't bring up. He is in a mutual relationship with Dakota Fanning's character in the film. She is clearly sleeping with him, and she is a young girl, and he is old. So I could see that being like I'm old, I'm blind. Maybe they're not taking care of my house as much as I'd love them to. But
and I can also see
there's
that.
There's a utility there.
He's blind. He lays in bed all day. He doesn't know how bad it actually is in that house, I believe.
Sure, but at what point does it even really matter?
I think that kind of viewpoint is kind of not 100% because he might be in this relationship, but I've seen so many people that are in a relationship where somebody's taking advantage of somebody else.
This is borderline prostitution. Let's be honest. It's not a relationship.
But you literally just said he's in a consensual relationship with Dakota Fanning's character.
Technically consensual, yes, but not.
So you're proving my point. But this is my point.
Prostitution is still technically a consensual relationship,
right? But that's exactly what I'm saying. I've seen quote unquote relationships where one person takes advantage of the other person because.
Which one is it usually?
What are you talking about?
Who's usually taking advantage of who? The prostitute or the person hiring the prostitute?
I'm not talking about a prostitute at this point.
Okay.
I'm talking about a relationship that somebody's taking advantage of somebody else.
Right.
And the other person who's being taken advantage of is like, well, this is fine because I'm getting this person out of it. Yep. Really, they're getting treated like crap. So the way that, and also because I think they know that they're not doing stuff like that, they're not in the right, or she would not have said, "Let me know if he comes to the house," and then she tells everybody to leave. She's like, "I'll take care of this." They're protecting that house. They know there's a person in that house. They don't want anybody else to see because they know how bad it is. She tries her best to make sure that what's his name? Now I'm forgetting Brad Pitt's character.
Cliff Booth.
Yeah, so they make sure she's trying to make sure that Cliff does not get in the door. Now eventually she's like, "All right, this dude's going to use force if he needs to. Whatever, I don't care anymore," kind of thing. But they try their best, or very close to their best, to prevent the situation of even him being seen. Why? If there's nothing wrong, why?
No,
that's my point.
I get your point. I just what we're really talking about is Cliff's
reaction to it all
in this, and whether or not if he's really like a decent guy is what we're originally kind of saying. And I think the point is that the kids are doing something they shouldn't be doing. They are taking advantage to an extent of the
Right.
kid. But the old man also, I think, still, you know, I mean, he's he's kind of in this situation where if he really wanted to, he could probably call the cops, say, I own this place. I don't know who any of these fucking kids are. Get them off my land. I think there's at least part of it is worth it to him to keep that up. Even to the extent that Brad Pitt comes into him and says, hey, if these kids are taken care of, like, I can help you out. And he probably knows Brad Pitt enough to think, yeah, he probably could get these kids out of here if he wanted to.
But there's no reason.
He's not scared.
There's no reason for him to do it. But here's my belief. I feel like there's no reason for him to call the cops. Not necessarily because he doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
At this point,
because he doesn't know.
Because he doesn't really truly know, and that's my point. Is he kind
must
of
have
almost
left that room
can't
at some
really
point.
know.
You know what I mean?
He's blind.
Yeah.
Now that's not the only thing, but I'm just saying.
Probably still smell.
That's what I'm saying. So there are other things. I think that it's a mix of both.
Yeah.
I think that he is at a certain point where he's willing to accept certain things, but I think that's why Cliff Booth goes up, tells him the certain things, and the dude's kind of like he knows, and so I think Cliff goes, all right. I think Cliff knows that the old man, which again, I don't remember this character's name, so I feel bad I'm not referencing his name. But I think Cliff goes, all right, he knows a certain extent, but there's a certain extent he won't ever know. And he can't. And I think they're taking advantage of him, but there's nothing I can do at this point. So I'm going to leave because there's nothing I can do anymore. You know, I think there's a certain line. I think that he does know that some stuff's going on, doesn't care, but he doesn't know the extent of what's going on, so those kids are taking advantage of it.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
But at the end of the day, it probably still doesn't justify him.
Right. So back to I just wanted to discuss that topic because I think that for me, I think Cliff's character is a overall pretty good-hearted person,
as long as he didn't kill his wife.
kind of wants. Okay, I think that he thinks that he's, and I think you agree with this. Thinks that he's the hero of his own story.
Oh, definitely.
So he thinks that everything he's doing is okay. Mm-hmm. So I think for the most part, we'll say 75% of what he does is, good-hearted. Like, not just in his eyes, but
that doesn't
in decent...
translate. You said just because he thinks that he's the hero of his own story, 70% of what he does is good-hearted?
No, not because of that. Two separate statements. I think he thinks he's the hero of his own story, so no matter what he does, he's doing the right thing. He thinks he's doing the right thing.
Mind, yes.
Now, I think the proportion of what is actually the right thing, I think that overall he's seen to be a pretty, loyal friend. Nice enough to most people that probably about 75%
of... or only source of income?
Could be both. I think it's a mix of both.
I saw it more as Cliff puts up with Rick, Leonardo DiCaprio's character, because he can't work in Stuntman anymore. Everyone thinks he killed his wife. I mean, that's very clear. Leo tries to get him a job, and he starts to, and then he immediately fucks it up by assaulting what's his name? Bruce Lee. And I think it's Bruce Lee. Again, it's kind of funny because in every situation you can point to, that guy kind of in a way deserved, because he was being either cocky or he slashed tires or they broke into the house with the intention of murdering them. But at the same time, it's like, you probably met people like this before who always seem like they're getting in bad situations that are putting them in further bad situations. And it's like, man, bad things do kind of tend to happen to you, but how do you react to them?
Yeah.
Do you react to them in the best way? No, you don't.
No, so that's what I'm saying. I think that imagine, and I'm not saying this is exactly him, but imagine somebody that has a good heart and is trying to do kind of the right things, but when they're presented with a situation like that, they overreact where somebody is doing something wrong. So there's a lot. So if you're a good-hearted person and then somebody is doing something wrong, but then to fix it, this person might deserve some of this, but then you push it past it. You know what I mean? Because you think that because this person deserves it, you have the right to go all the way. And it doesn't matter because you are in the right, because you're doing the right thing and this person did a bad thing. So I think that he has a little bit of that in him. For example, with the guy who was, I believe, being I was going to say abused.
Taking
advantage of. And so he's not happy. He tried to leave, and then they did that. They slashed his tires, and that was it. That was that thing that pushed him over the edge. Right. So pushing over the edge might be like, cool, I'm going to deck you in the face once, or at least like trip you and like hold you by the shirt and like threaten you to like fix my tire. Maybe that's one thing, but to continue to beat on this guy might be that, pushing him over the edge. So what I meant by the 75%
His name is George.
Thank you.
Yep.
So what I was trying to say is it's almost like 75% of his actions might be good. And then there's that other percentage, which is him just going way too far. I don't know if that makes any sense. Basically, what I'm saying is that's kind of how I viewed him. Now, maybe if I went and rewatched this, I would have a different idea of that character, because I do agree with, now that you mention it, some of the things that you're saying of when you kind of say how he wants to be this kind of cowboy, and how I said in agreement that he wants to be the hero of his own story. That doesn't justify you for everything. But it seems like most things that happens is when he does go overboard, it's because something bad is happening and he is trying to fix it, but he goes past a certain line. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just think when you're talking about, kind of the morality of a character, you can't like section off their actions. You can't say, well, he was trying to do the right thing, he just went too far. You just have to take the sum of what they actually did and say, right. This was bad.
Right. But I see what you're saying. I think I explained it a little wrong, because I agree with you, because then to him he goes, well, no, that was okay that I did that, because look what they did to me.
Right.
That lowers your morals, your moral standard, to be like, yeah, this guy tried to poke me with a needle, so I blew his brains out. Well, okay, just because somebody did something bad doesn't mean that you try to fix it and go overboard means you're a good-hearted person. So I see what you're saying. I don't necessarily mean it like that. So I agree with you to that extent. We never even really talked about how you felt about the movie as a whole. We just kind of I did say I liked it. I think the kind of recapping a lot of it in one thing of how the movie is structured is, I like to say that it's a person's life with very interesting subplots, almost.
Okay.
What I mean by that is there's things going on that some people, when they watch, might be like, all right, this isn't really going anywhere, or going over with a giant arc, or going over there super quick.
Well, it doesn't have a very clearly defined story, right?
What I mean? So that's what I mean. So it's like you're watching a person's life with a bunch of interesting subplots. Like there was, like, for example, when Rick was trying to get his stunt. Why do I keep forgetting Cliff? I need to write these down. Getting Cliff a job on set, and he was like, I'm not doing that. And then they talk about he killed his wife and all this stuff. And they did the flashback with him like fighting Bruce Lee and all that stuff. That subplot was him trying to get this job. And you felt that intensity in that moment of like, is he going to get the job? Why are they saying that he, like, why can't he get the job? What happened? They show you a little backstory.
Yeah, and it fleshes out the character.
And that was it. That was a subplot which lasted maybe 10 minutes.
Right.
And there's a bunch of that until it gets later into the movie. Then when you get kind of like the hippies or whatever involved, that was a more stretched out version, because you had seen this girl throughout the movie, and then you get actually connected with her, and then you bring her to the ranch. She's like, all right, this has a more overarching importance to the story. So then it kind of builds to the end with those subplots.
So
does that make sense?
That's yes, but it was funny that you brought up the girl that Cliff picks up, whose name is actually Pussycat, of all things. But I found that to be one of the big kind of criticisms I have with this movie, is that the kind of contrivance of that whole, how they ended up kind of shoehorning those scenes in and then looping it back into the end of the movie, because it doesn't seem incredibly convenient, or I guess coincidental, that Cliff picks up one of the Manson family, or at least somebody within that sphere. She's not actually at the murders, but she's not at the murders, right?
No,
I didn't think so. But he picks her up and then takes her to the ranch where members of the murders are, and he even, I think, sees some of the girls who end up going through with it. I know Tex, the guy who goes for the murder, he didn't show up until after he had left. And then they just so happen, not even trying to kill them.
He showed up to like check the dude out first.
Check the dude.
Cliff. Remember, they're like, she brought a new guy. Come check him out.
No, yes. Well, no, but he didn't ever make it there by the time he had.
No, before he went into the house. Wasn't that the same character, or am I thinking of a different character? Remember, he was on the horse, and then he was like, I really wanted you to meet. whatever. So I can't.
I think the whole point is that Tex never saw Cliff there because I'm pretty sure Tex had a gun. So had he seen him beating the shit out of him, he would have shot him.
No, yeah. So they bring Cliff to the ranch,
right?
And then a guy comes over on a horse.
Mm-hmm.
Tex comes over on a horse, talks to him, and they're talking up in the house. And they're like, "Tell him if he comes close." He's like, "Nah." Tex is just talking to him, and they go, "All right." They talked, and now he rode away, and then he rode back to do the tour or whatever on the horses.
Right.
And he thought he was good. He checked him out. That was the whole idea for him to check him out, to make sure he was chill, and he wasn't. So then, after he beats the dude,
he leaves, and then they
try to go get him again, and then he comes back,
and he's already gone. Yeah. Okay. Yes, that is.
So
he
did see him and talked to him. They had a conversation.
Yeah. But well, I guess my whole point is that all that transpires because he randomly saw this girl multiple times looking to hitchhike in L.A. or Hollywood or whatever, and then they happen to go and try and kill their neighbors and end up trying to kill them at their house later at the end of the movie.
Right.
It's just very coincidental.
Right.
And it feels.
And we all know Nate doesn't like any coincidences in any movie whatsoever.
I think here's the thing. Here's where you can have. Well, it's contrived, right? So it doesn't feel like it's happening naturally. It feels artificially. It feels placed in because you wanted to. Because I think what had happened is that we needed to see the Manson characters before the end of the movie to kind of lead up to kind of indicate to the audience, okay, this is where this is going to go. These are who these people are. But there was no good way to have either of our main characters interact with them before, because you had to have a reason. Why would the Manson kids go into Rick Dalton's house instead of Roman Polanski's? You had to establish that reason. And I feel like had he just came out, I don't know.
So I have a different stance on this than Nate does. We've kind of already talked about this. I do have a line. There are certain coincidences that are just way too out there that I'm like, that is way too big of a coincidence. I'm not giving that the benefit of a doubt kind of thing.
If the coincidence is the crux of like the story, I feel like that's different. Like if it's...
So I will give you the coincidence of them showing up to the house and doing all that stuff at the end, to me is okay. I'll give you the coincidence of the fact that they saw her so many times and then hitchhike. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's the part I have a problem with. Not the fact that they went to the house, because they went to the house for a very good reason, and them being neighbors is fine. Right. Because someone has to be his neighbor. It makes sense that it'll be another actor.
I don't see that the coincidences in the whole movie was that big of a deal to me. And here's why. Because coincidences, okay, a coincidence is a word because coincidences happen. Now, here's what I mean by this. Crazy stuff has happened to me multiple times in my life where I go, wow, this thing happened and then this happened. And then later I met this person or saw this thing because of that one thing that happened over there. Isn't that crazy? Those are the stories you tell. I tell you stories about like that crazy stuff happening all the time. Mm-hmm. And it happens, I mean, not all the time, but coincidences in themselves, they happen all the time. Mm-hmm. So those kind of like instances happen every once in a while to where I tell those stories. So to me, if you're going to tell a story, which is a movie, in a movie you're telling a story. If you're going to tell a story, you might as well tell a story about this thing that's happening with all these... There is a limit, but where all these coincidences happen to where it builds up to this thing. And if coincidences build up to this thing, sometimes that happens in life. Again, there's a line. There's not like, oh, well, this happens, so this can happen, 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 so then they meet this person who does this, this, and this, and this. Like, so that's ridiculous.
Yes,
there's a ridiculous line. So I agree with that. Rise of Skywalker was one of them. I feel like we have to do an episode on Rise of Skywalker because we always compare things to it and we haven't actually fleshed out what we think.
You know what's funny? I think that's the example of coincidences when I always think of, I will go back to, is actually Force Awakens.
Yeah.
And the fact that Poe, or the planet where they get Luke Skywalker's map is on the same planet that Rey is. And then they land close enough on that planet after they crash, Poe and Finn. They crash on Jakku close enough to go where Rey is so that they can meet up with her. Not only that, and then the Millennium Falcon just happens to be at the same camp in all of the galaxy that she is. And then they just happen to run into Han Solo,
the Force.
the original. It's yeah.
I'm
so
kidding. I give you that one more for sure.
Right. Those are definitely very bad examples of coincidence. But here's my problem with coincidence. There are real life stories like if you watch Dateline, you'll hear all these murder stories. Well, hold on.
Okay.
If you hear all these murder stories where like crazy shit happens, where you go, if I wrote that, it would be ridiculous. Like sometimes I feel like it'll be like, oh, this person got murdered by a guy named George Killerson. It's like if you wrote a story about a guy named George Killerson and he killed people, people would be like, that's really stupid. But it happens in real life.
Right.
So, but when you're telling a story, a fictional story, coincidences are distracting. And anything that breaks the immersion from the movie hurts it. And that's just how I feel.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty hard to argue against that. And obviously there are different levels. I'm not saying that this is a movie-breaking criticism that this happens. I just think it's a little coincidental, and it's worth bringing up because,
to be fair, I don't want to say like we like this movie and we need to talk about the things that we didn't like or issues that we have, because I don't want to just say all good things about everything. But I disagree with you in the fact of, if that took you out of the movie, that's you. But I feel like it didn't take many people.
I think, it's whether, you could argue about how noticeable it is, but
right. But here's my point: is it did not take me out of the movie at all, not even a little bit. And if I'm gonna make a movie out of time in my life or a scenario in my life, I'm gonna do it.
Then you're making something real. So. Then it's different. If you're telling a real story and it has coincidences because those coincidences are real, of course that's a very different situation.
Now you're saying you don't want movies to be realistic.
No. You're talking about, okay, say you were going to
What's the difference of making a coincidence in a movie that's not real and having coincidences in real life?
Right, because they actually happened, and so they're excusable. But in coincidences in fiction, like I said, are distracting because of how kind of... Like, what are the chances of that actually happening? Well, let's say, what are the chances that we all die tomorrow? Are they everybody on Earth? Is it low? Yeah, it's very low. Is it impossible? I guess technically not.
No,
something could just run or something could happen, right? That could kill us all. But if I made a movie about the whole premise being we all died tomorrow for some random cause that was completely ridiculous, people would point it out and say that's kind of ridiculous, right?
Yes, but you're taking this on a way crazy spectrum.
You're right. I am. That's hyperbole. But my point is that there is a scale to it. That's why I brought up the whole Force Awakens example, is because that's a much higher level and much more egregious example of a coincidence taking me out of a movie and making it a worse overall film. But I do think that, they are on level, and even if it is this is probably closer to a nitpick than anything, but I still think it's worth bringing up because it is kind of very unlikely that he would have ran into her multiple times and she would have just happened to have been part of the Manson family and who would have just happened to end up trying killing them later in the movie.
Yeah.
And if she had been looking for Cliff and been trying to hitchhike in his car, this totally would have been eradicated. This whole problem would have been gone. But I don't think there's any indication that she was actively seeking him out.
Right.
They exchanged glances because, Brad Pitt is an attractive guy and she's young, so he figures, but
yeah, I still just disagree with you wholly
on just the premise that
this specific one is even worth. It's worth bringing up because it's bringing a conversation, which I like.
Sure,
I like that we have this different view of this specific thing.
You think it's an invalid criticism?
I think yes, I do because again, coincidences happen all the time. So the fact they put it in a movie that coincidence, and I like when you have a movie that when something happens can then later link to something else, because then you just have different things that don't link to anything. That's just one thing, and then another thing, and the movie's over.
Well, yes.
When things
events when they link together do make a good story. If they were completely unlinked, that would be. Maybe experimental, but probably bad.
And then when you have
exactly, you don't need a coincidence,
and you can link certain things that aren't coincidences.
Most of the time.
But that's the idea of, and I don't like things that just like throw a twist in. But when you have a example, when they do have movies that do twists well, most of the time it's coincidence related. So you go, like if there's a twist of like something happens at the end of the movie, for example, in this one. They happen to go into that house. You're like, oh, wow, that was the same people that did this, and now they're in their house. That's a coincidence. Not all twists are coincidence related.
Well, the fact that they chose their house isn't a coincidence. It's it's shown that Rick Dalton heard their loud car in the
Right.
in their driveway, and he caused it himself. That by itself is fine. It's the fact that Cliff's character had met them and had seen this girl who was affiliated with them multiple times before then.
I think
out of the entire city.
Yeah, I think that it adds a layer of interest to the film that would not be there if he hadn't met them. And you could
right.
say they had met them in a certain way, in a different way.
Yes, the writing would be better, I think, objectively, if they had come up with an actual reason for those two characters to meet prior to.
The writing could possibly be better depending on how it was written.
Yes.
Maybe.
And
but
I feel
there's
bad
nothing
for
wrong
even
with the way that this is
beginning to
written.
criticize Quentin Tarantino, who I think is a very, very good writer in everything he does. But that doesn't mean I can't point out a flaw.
You're allowed to have your own opinions.
Yeah.
I just believe that, again, to me, it seems very invalid to me to argue that was a big enough coincidence to be an issue. And you're saying this is on the very, very, very,
like
very
I said,
small end of the scale.
It's almost a nitpick. It's a little bigger than a nitpick, but
I would think that it's not even worth a nitpick because, again, it's such a small thing that stuff happens, bro, like all the time in real life. And so when that kind of coincidence happens and you want to put it into a movie, that's okay because it wasn't like so far out there like I've seen in so many other movies. But that's my opinion.
I don't know. Well, that kind of brings up almost a whole other discussion of like, because I think when you're talking about a story and how a story is written, those kind of things are a big aspect of what makes it work or what makes it not work. You know, I mean, you can write anything you want to, as far as like, I have this character, he needs to get through this event so that he learns this thing. Say that's your story, right? For example, if how he goes from being in place A to place B to learn thing C, if that doesn't make sense logically, and if things are contrived, the more contrivances you have, the least logic it's going to follow. I mean, that's pretty reasonable to say. I mean, like we said with The Force Awakens, when you start, JJ needed Rey to get from point A to point B. She needed her to be a nobody scavenger on this nobody planet to meeting Han Solo. And the way he gets her there is ridiculous.
Right.
And so the movie would be better objectively if those things made sense getting there. If it wasn't just coincidental that in the entire giant galaxy, you know, the plan didn't just happen to be on her planet near her, not only just on the same planet, but nearby, near enough for BB-8 to scurry his little football or bad soccer ball ass over to her, and then into her specific little town in the middle of nowhere, and for Poe and Finn to crash land close enough to the outbreak. You know what I mean? All these things. Right.
But I'm not arguing about the about this movie.
You're right, but I'm saying that it's the same level, just to a much lesser extent.
I disagree.
Well, fair enough. I guess we're not going to
okay, sit here and tell me you've never had a coincidence where you talk to somebody and you meet somebody and you go,
real life isn't a story.
And
it's not. It's not a fiction.
Well, you're blowing my mind right now, dude. Like, the whole reason we talked about liking certain things is because certain things are relatable. We liked how they portrayed realism, an example, Marriage Story, with certain stories that happen. So I don't even know where to like collect my thoughts here. That's not an excuse to not have coincidences in movies. You can't say this isn't real life, so don't have a coincidence.
Okay,
then that makes it less.
Here's a coincidence
real.
that makes sense. Say you have a rom-com with, I don't know, Tom Hanks and somebody else. And they're both two people who live in New York City. Tom Hanks is a big businessman, and the love interest is, I don't know, she does something else. Maybe she owns like a bookshop. I'm sure this is a movie that actually exists. And they both ran through an encounter. They bump into each other in the park because they both had a bad day, and that's what cheers them up, and they end up forming a relationship based on running into each other. That's an example of a fine coincidence. I really think that's okay. Like, because that's kind of the crux of the story. That's why the story's there, right? Is because that happened. A very realistic thing to happen. And it's coincidental. What are the odds that you run into anybody specifically in a place like New York City? I mean, 11 million people live there, right? It's pretty low. But that happening is the whole reason why the movie exists. That's the igniting spark. What happens in this movie, this coincidence, is not the igniting spark of the movie. It's not why it happens. It's just, it helps show the audience these characters early to set up a later conflict. But it doesn't it doesn't flow naturally.
Yeah.
So that's an example of a coincidence that could work in a movie because of its relevance to. That's the reason the story exists. That's why you're telling the story, is because whether it's because this unlikely pairing of these two people in this situation. But if that's not the case here, that's why I don't think it works.
Okay. I see where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think that the only coincidence that can happen in a movie is one that is the main crux of the movie. You can have other ones. Now, yes, it does get distracting if you have too many. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm just saying that I completely understand where you're coming from. I get that if it's not the main thing, the main crux, the main igniting thing, that there is a chance for it to be distracting. This one for me, and I will give you that obviously that is your opinion. There could be many other people out there that agree with you that it was, and they thought that it was distracting enough to be like, well, but kind of why? So I'll give you that, especially over other things. Like I will say that there is a chance that this movie could have been written better if they did write that differently. I'm saying there's a chance. I'm not saying it would have been, but maybe, because I don't know, maybe. I'm not going to say this was the best way to write it for sure. I don't know.
I mean, you probably can't really ever say that.
But here's a fun story. Just we've already gone on this one specific thing for so long. Here's another fun tangent to learn a little bit about me. One of the craziest coincidences in my life. Mm-hmm. And you'll probably chalk this up to but if you're going to write a movie about this is the main crux, which agreeable. But I'm just saying, like, a crazy coincidence that does happen in life. Mm-hmm. Minecraft.
Oh, no.
So in high school, back in, I think, freshman year, I was playing Minecraft with some friends, and one day I was playing, like, by myself. There's a server that literally had thousands of people on it. And there's, like, sub-servers. Holy poop. Okay, there's like sub-servers. So you have to find a server to get into this game, but there's a bunch of different like sub-servers. So I went into one of the sub-servers, and each one of those has about 100 people in it. So we're talking like thousands of people, okay? I literally message little nerdy me or who I'm like, hey, anybody want a team for this little like stupid mini game, okay? I get a random message from this dude, and he's like, yeah, dude, let's team. We swap Skypes. We start Skyping each other. We played a game. We won. We're on cloud 9, dude. It was great.
Become internet friends.
Yes. We start playing like day after day. Like, we became internet friends. We got to know each other, started talking to each other. We found out that this person lived in Arizona. I live in Georgia. In high school, he played Danny Zuko in Grease, the main character. I played Danny Zuko in Grease, the main character in high school. He was also going into acting. All this random stuff that we found out that was very similar in our lives. Years go by. I go to college. I was like, dude, we're meeting. I'm driving across the country. I'm going to California for college. I'm stopping at your place. Or we're meeting up. We're meeting for real. This is happening. He's like, heck yeah, we're doing this. We get to Arizona. The day before we're supposed to get there. And obviously, like, and I told my mom who helped me move into college, and she's like, all right, cool. We'll do this or whatever. And I'm on the phone. I was like, you're still good for tomorrow, right? As I'm like a few hours from his house. I was supposed to get there the next day. I was like, yo, we're still good for tomorrow? He's like, yeah. I was like, cool. We're in Arizona. We'll be here at this time. He's like, oh, okay, cool. Now, you said you're here because you're moving across the country to California to go to college, right? I was like, yeah. He goes, what college are you going to out there? I said, AMDA, American Musical and Dramatic Academy in LA. He goes, that's freaking nuts. I'm going there next semester. What the crap, dude?
Okay,
like,
so if you
that is not something. And then later that year, we find each other on campus. We hang out. We're college friends. Like a year ago, like 6 months ago, he was doing a cross country road trip. He happened to be in Georgia. He's like, yo, you mind if I crash? We're buds. Out of thousands of people, the coincidence that we had, that is a crazy story. That does not happen to everybody.
Yep.
And I have a lot of other, I just remember that one because it's so specific.
Right.
My point is, if I was going to tell a story, that would be such a cool story to tell.
Yeah, because it happened to you.
Yes.
But if that had never happened, if you fabricated that and then you wrote that down into a script about, you wrote a script about you going to college and you wrote that in there, I'd be like, take that fucking shit out. That's terrible. Like that one, that's not believable at all. That's ridiculous.
So there's stuff that happens in life that you go, that's unbelievable, because it is. I get that.
Yes.
So that is an example of something that's one coincidence after another that's crazy. So my point is, this one thing that they saw each other multiple times in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Or maybe she hitchhiked to a specific spot for a specific region, goes dumpster diving in the same kind of dumpsters. I don't know. Maybe that's ridiculous for me to think. And then he drives past the same road every day. So they see each other a couple times. That compared to what I just told you, which is real, that's why it doesn't bother me. Does that make sense?
I guess so, but I don't.
But I get where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I respect it, and I understand it completely, and can see how it could be annoying. I get it.
Yeah, I just one thing I like to try to look at is writing and stuff like that, and it's very easy to if you were just trying to find a easy way to connect two people, just throwing a coincidence in there. Pretty easy way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it is easier. I will give you that it's easier.
Yeah.
I will give you that.
But I think we've talked well enough about coincidences. Jeez, I'm getting tired of the word, honestly. Yeah. Gosh, yeah.
Do you know where that line's from? I don't know why it's the first line that popped in my head. Coincidence?
I know it.
I think.
Oh, yes. The Incredibles.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's my most quotable movie. Well, can we please pick our favorite movies and talk about our favorite movies?
Right now?
Just on a different episode.
I was about to say, yes.
One of my favorite movies of all time is The Incredibles.
We have to talk about our least favorite movies. Spoiler alert. I will be talking about Ready Player One.
Anyways, I'm sorry. I went off on a really long tangent. So if you have a tangent you want to talk about, please go, because I talked for too long.
Okay. No, I mean, I think we got to kind of wrap up our
Let me summarize here.
Once Upon a Time here.
Now, as much as there might be other specific scenes we wanted to go into, I like that we just kind of went on something, because it's kind of like, I don't know, it felt good to me. I don't care what you guys think.
It's at least it'll be a new take on Once Upon a Time.
Overall, I did like it. Well, the end was very, I guess, jarring, because I'd never seen a Quentin Tarantino movie before.
Which is probably more fun that way. You just had no idea going into it that it was going to end like that, and it's like, whoa! It's just like, And
there's a bunch of other small things that we could talk about and probably nitpick too. Like there are specific things, specific scenes, but overall, I liked it. I like the fact that it was somebody's, people's life with subplots. There were times that I'm not gonna lie, and be honest. There were a couple times where it seemed a little boring, a little bit. A little bit.
You have any examples?
And it was mostly in the first half. But there was when you really got into like Leo's character. Rick.
Yes.
And his backstory of of course, because I want to act and I have minimal acting experience. It's very interesting to see somebody's take on how that works, like somebody's life. Behind the scenes like that.
Well, and specifically, that is his character is really interesting, because I did watch some behind the scenes stuff, like I think some Vanity Fair and video. They do videos with actors and directors sometimes about movies and scenes. And I was watching one of those where Tarantino was talking about Rick Dalton's character, and it's a very specific type of actor he was kind of referencing. These guys who during the 50s and early 60s were doing a lot of these Western style serial shows but it was very Hollywood. They were very much trying to advertise themselves the whole time. It was very, that kind of style. And then they're moving into the 70s and there's going to be a change in cinema where people who really meld into their roles, and it's much more about the story. That's going to become a much bigger part of cinema, and that's why it's so hard for Rick Dalton to change, because he's the director of the show he's going to be on and be the bad guy for is he wants him to put on a weird mustache and change his hair and stuff like that, and he's like, what? How will they know it's me? That's he says in the movie. So I do like that aspect and those things, because a lot of the stuff they talk about Steve McQueen and a lot of those early well, I shouldn't say early, but actors of that time period, and those a lot of movies that Steve McQueen was in, like The Great Escape and Magnificent Seven. Have you ever seen either of those from? It's kind of they're movies a little bit from this time period. Actually, maybe a little earlier.
Magnificent.
The remake they did 2 years ago with Chris Pratt and everything.
I saw that one, most recent one of that one.
I think Magnificent Seven is kind of a weird thing, because I think it's kind of a remake of a remake of a remake, because I think it's based off another Seven Samurai or something like that, where it's the same old story that they've been retelling over and over again about a bunch of guys who are good at killing have to go defend a little town from a bunch of bad hooligans. But as a kid, I watched a lot of those movies because like my grandfather was super into him and stuff like that. So it was kind of cool to see the deep dive into this character. So just an opinion based, that part I really did enjoy watching a lot of, and I really like the like how they did the world like and made 19. I know I talked a little bit about this already, but how they made 1969 Hollywood or LA, I guess. Look, all that stuff is real too. Like they didn't use any CGI for like when Cliff is driving through the streets and everything. Like he's all. They had to just redo building and get all those cars and stuff.
The cars,
it's nuts.
Man.
Yeah, and they did it. I mean, this movie was made for like $95 million. Like, it's really not that much. I know that I think Leo and Brad Pitt took a big pay cut to make this happen. But, so, I mean, that kind of stuff is I thought was really well done and really cool. And then humor in this movie I actually really liked, too. I don't know. Did you find yourself actually laughing?
Yeah, for sure.
I know one specific scene I thought was really funny, especially when Leo just got done with his meeting in the bar with Al Pacino, and he comes out and he's crying because he's like, my career is over, and Brad Pitt's like, whoa, put these. He gives him his sunglasses, put these on. Don't cry in front of the Mexicans. I that line, I don't know really even know why. It's just it like killed me just because I guess it really just showed like the difference in the time here, like they
I guess what I'm okay, so I want to pick out a scene specifically when they were doing the one where Rick was like you were saying, he was the villain. They kind of give him, mustache, wig, all that kind of stuff. But it was when they were actually filming the scene
where he was messing up and couldn't remember his lines.
Yeah.
Okay, that part.
And they like specifically like took the camera and like brought it back and then moved it. So it's like we were seeing it as it was supposed to be filmed, but just the way that they did that was really cool. And seeing him break when I didn't know if we were actually going to see him do that, like break character and then get frustrated with himself. Just the way that there's a lot I could speak about that specific scene, but I like those kind of scenes where you see deeper into stuff than you really, should, I guess.
Yeah. Like it's a movie about making a movie.
And I mean, that's what a lot of this was about, but I thought that was really cool. Shout out to...
Wow.
The scene where... Cliff like went up on the roof and did parkour.
He was fixing the antenna
and he,
or whatever.
Didn't use a ladder, just like jumped up on walls and like did like some.
God, Brad Pitt is way too old to be looking that good, man. He's like in his mid-50s. He is old.
And so it was a good movie. I guess the only thing I would say is it felt a little bit like there was a little bit of a slow start, which isn't always necessarily bad. And this movie is very. I think a lot of people can like it, but I do think that there is a specific audience that would really like this kind of movie.
I think Tarantino usually kind of does do a little bit of a slow start. Like I think most of his movies literally like have a slow, like they usually have like long panning shots of like wherever the environment is. Like I rewatched The Hateful Eight recently, which is the most recent one before this. And that one especially has, a very like, I think they're just like literal minutes before you're really getting into any kind of real character, anyone's really talking to each other. You're really seeing anything that has to do with the plot, which, artistic choice, whatever you want to do. I usually kind of lend more toward the side of everything you show should be for a purpose. Like you shouldn't just show things like, I remember, this is a very specific example, but the movie, and I don't think you've seen it, but the movie Midsummer that came out last year.
I did not.
There's like the opening to that movie is like a 5-minute shot of like cold landscapes in Sweden. And there's really no, from what I remember, I could be wrong on this, but I remember thinking when I was watching the movie, at the end of it, I was like, why didn't we see that opening? That didn't really serve any purpose. It didn't really put me in it didn't give me any particular feeling towards what would happen later. It didn't feel. No, it didn't feel. In fact, I mean, if it did, it immediately broke it because it went straight into, what they the rest of the movie, which at first takes place in like New York or some normal city with normal people. So I don't know. It just stuff like that. That's a very weird off topic example, but
and then one more scene that I did like where he went back into his trailer after the shot that we were just talking about, and then he got so upset because he kept forgetting his lines. I'm a sucker for like real raw emotion type scenes like that.
Yeah.
And something I noted down, which is interesting, when he, at the end of that scene, he talks to himself in the mirror. He's like, you can do this. You're going to go out there kind of thing. He's not looking at himself in the mirror. The angle of the mirror is angled, so
he's
we
looking
see
at
his
the camera?
face through the mirror.
Yeah.
So like you see him looking in the mirror, and then if you look at the mirror, his eyes are directly into the camera. And I'm like, he's not looking at himself in the mirror.
That's funny. So that means he's staring off
at the camera.
Well, yes, he's staring at the camera, but
if the camera wasn't there,
universe, he would be staring at like his cabinet behind him. Yeah. I didn't notice that.
So that took me out a little bit because I was like, you could have the same. I get what he was going for, but like
now that's a nitpick.
I get what he's going for to like try to make it even more apparent by him looking at us in the eyes, like he's looking at himself. But I'm like, I know how mirrors work, so he's not looking at himself. That bothered me.
Probably too deep of an angle because you usually probably try to make that work with like having the camera like right over his shoulder, and so he's looking at the camera, but it still looks like he's looking at himself. Yeah.
And then, and now I just keep talking. What did you? I heard things about how people felt about how Bruce Lee was.
Oh, I love that. I've always
handled
hot
in this
take.
movie.
I don't know a lot about Bruce Lee, but I always did kind of think that he loved himself some Bruce Lee, and everyone. I think he's put up on a higher pedestal than he probably should.
Like
be.
his mystic aura.
Yeah, he's
and how
like
he called him out on that.
Yeah, he's almost like a folktale. Like he's so like talked about so highly, and I'm like, well, you know, at the end of the day, he was like what, like 150 pounds.
So do you like that they poked fun at his kind of mystic vibes?
Yes, very much.
You don't think it was like too disrespectful to him?
No. I mean, if it would have been disrespectful if they talked about like the way he died or like any real specifics about his person, but like poking fun about Bruce Lee loving himself some Bruce Lee is totally fine. Yeah, I think that was great. That was some of the funnier. Yeah, especially where he's like, my hands are registered lethal weapons. If I kill someone, I go to jail.
Yeah.
And he's like, if anybody kills anybody, they go to jail. It's called manslaughter. Yeah, that was a great. Yeah, I mean, I think that was in that trailer, but still a great line, and I think to an extent that scene is based off something that happened in real life. Brad Pitt's character is very loosely based on a real life stuntman who I do think beat Bruce Lee in a like sparring fight on a movie set. Citation needed. I think I loosely read that somewhere, but not 100% sure. But so I guess closing thoughts. Did this movie make you, outside of reasons of this show, make you want to see more Tarantino stuff?
Yeah, I always wanted to see more Tarantino stuff, and this didn't change that. We'll put it that way.
Did it accelerate it, or just like lukewarm?
It's...
Dude, who's Luke and why is he so warm?
I mean, maybe accelerated a little bit. I had high expectations going in anyways, and it was good. Sure. So it's not like, you know what I mean? Like if I had like nothing and no expectations.
If you didn't know anything about it,
if I had never heard the name Quentin Tarantino, then I was like, okay, cool, yeah, I want to watch some of this dude's stuff. But it's like, all right, cool, I'm ready for the next one. You know, I'm along for the ride, the journey.
Who's this? Totino's Pizza here.
How about you, dude?
I mean, I've already said I very much enjoy this movie. I like it a lot. And I mean, I don't know. I try not to like fanboy after anybody, but yeah, I'm trying to think of anybody as far as like directors that I like. I've just consistently pretty much like everything that they do, except I'm hot take not a big fan of Jackie Brown. But that just might be me. I might not just be artsy enough. I don't know. But yeah. Okay. Well, that's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Next week we're gonna do Birds of Prey. I don't know what we're gonna do.
I don't know if we'll have time to see that before. We might. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But I don't know. Next week we're doing whatever the fuck we want to because we don't know yet.
I'll tell you what. Next week we're gonna talk about movies. Brother. Brother. Brother, 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 brother,